Hey everybody, it's me, Dearest Scooter. Welcome to Sleep With Me. I just wanted to give you a little update here. It is Monday, January something. I'm coming to you, well, I'm live right now for me, but you should be hearing this Tuesday night, and this is going to be part 3 of After the Glass Slipper. Obviously you're hearing my voice. I got a temporary solution in place now, so we should be finishing up the entire first season of After the Glass Slipper. Luckily we had that, so we didn't have to miss any episodes. Season 2 of After the Glass Slipper should start Thursday, either with this temporary solution or with a new one, but there should be a new episode up on Thursday, and then we'll go right into our normal schedule. Sunday will be a new Game of Thrones episode, and Tuesday will be like a Trending Tuesday Redditation type thing, or if I can recover the audio from last January, New Year's Eve's episode that I recorded, we'll do that. So everything's back to normal. Season 2 is going to kick off After Glass Slipper, tentatively called The Last Royal. Why, I don't know. I just like the way that sounds. So all tech problems should be figured out. Thank you for your patience. I'm glad we had something to put up for you. Those of you that are fairly new to the podcast or brand new, like this is your first week of the podcast, we're on the web, www.sleepwithmepodcast.com. We've been airing some condensed older episodes, the last 3 shows, and those give you a taste for what the podcast was like early on to like not that long ago, and it follows the tale of After the Glass Slipper of Cinderella, her mother, and her stepmother, and it's concluding tonight. I'm glad you're here, and most of all, I hope I help you fall asleep. Thanks for listening. Oh, and thanks for listening and good night. Let's just try to, I want to thank I'll thank the iTunes reviews right now so we get some thank yous out of the way. I want to thank Katie M. for her iTunes review. I want to thank Mood Girl, who I may have already thanked, but Mood Girl and Katie M., I want to make sure they were thanked. Amaliam, I want to say thank you to Amaliam. She or he likes the short stories, and the Angry Butterfly, Bernie, and Ray. And Nicole B. Unfortunately, Nicole B., I got a song stuck in her head. There are reviews from December 29th, a song from the 90s. Nicole, next time just write the song so I can, more apologize, because we do a lot of old songs here. But Nicole did not, like the podcast did not work for her, because I'm thinking it might have been Susudio is a maybe, but that was an 80s song. So I don't know, Nicole, if you're still listening, let me know what song, so I could just say the word, oh, I'm so sorry, just say sorry. If I could get Phil Collins. Jack Steele, I want to thank for his review. He says things are awesome. And thank you, Jack. RLG1128 says it's weird, it works, and it's algorithmic. Thank you. I thought for a second it was RG3, but it's RLG1128, different code numbers. But your review, I thank you. George Cole says he's thankful. Him and Sheila are thankful for the podcast. And I'm thankful for your review, George. LRP 1980 has a review that I'm thankful for, but might actually be useful, too, because LRP says, strange and soothing, entertaining but boring at the same time. But the main thing you're asking is, will this put me to sleep? A resounding yes. And then LRP goes on, so thank you, LRP. Lauren, 3498, has a real nice review. Really nice thing to say. She says, something she can't quite put her finger on, but it's part of her bedtime routine, and I'm glad for that. And then Kate E. May says, around 2 a.m. is when she goes to the podcast, and then we're here to get her back to sleep. So thank you all. If you have the time to review and rate us, it's a huge, huge help to make us algorithmic and help others discover the podcast. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your patience. I guess now I'm like, man, if I would have taken the week between Christmas and New Year's off, I could have aired those episodes that are airing now. But then then I would have, so everything works out because it works out. And mainly, good night, and have a great sleep. Walls of the Wizard's Tower is a portal. It's just shimmering. You can't really see anything on the other side of it. Kind of like the gray static of a old-fashioned TV, but pre-digital TV, when there'd be just gray fuzz. You could probably look that up on YouTube. The four of them hold hands, and they take a deep breath, and they step through the portal. Slowly, they emerge on the other side of the portal, and they look behind them, and they can see the dull rectangle of the portal. Most portals I know are ovals, and that's a more circles. And sure, that's a more cinematic thing and more organic, but this portal happens to be a rectangle, and maybe fairies are more into geometry than in science. I don't know, but I'm just saying, because I could notice some of you scoffing at the rectangular portal. Looking back, they see the room they left, but it's slowly fading. Then they start to look around, and they notice that there's nothing around them. Everything is a shade of gray. Just one shade of gray, not the 50 shades of popular culture right now. They look at each other, and they notice that it's kind of like dusk, like they're all gray too. There's no real definition around them, and everyone starts to get nervous. Yeah, Roland speaks up for, Penelope, which way are we headed next? And where we stay? Penelope, which way are we headed next? I kind of feel a little bit scared. Well, I'm not quite sure, Roland. Usually when I come through the portal in the woods, when I was working with Cinderella, I would go and my day would be over. So I'd create the portal out in the woods, and I would go through it, and I would go through the portal, walk through, and next thing I know, I'd be in my garden, and I'd be looking at my flowers and my plants. Next, I would enter my cottage. I'd go down my little flagstones, fix myself an evening tea, have some supper, and then I'd knock off for the night, maybe do some light reading, or go have a neighbor over for a game of Smash the Beetle. That's about it. My day would be done. I'd just be relaxing and then going off to sleep. Before I worked for Cinderella, like I said, they kind of erase our memories, so I don't quite remember, but I have a feeling that's my routine. So I've never been in this gray zone. It's quite... I would say... I need to think about it for a second, because I wouldn't say we should just start walking, because since we can't see where we're going and everything's the same, we could quite easily get lost. Well, Penelope, this is Agatha, and we could be lost already because... Are you sure you're open to Portal to Fairyland and not Greyland? Or somewhere else? Oh, dear. My poor Cinderella. Cinderella? And they look over at Cinderella, and Cinderella's just kind of staring into the mist. Well, it's not mist, everything's gray, so she's just staring into the grayness. Cinderella, what are you doing? Oh, I'm seeing things in the gray mist, the grayness. Well, those are just the bugs that live on your eyeballs. They're floating around. They're called floaters. Oh, miss, I thought they were dead worms, the blood worms that carry our blood through our system. Like the ones in my arms are... If they're purple, I think they're alive. You know the bloodworms. The ones the leeches kiss. Well, I see, I don't know, I can't quite make it out. I wish this was more like a drawing. It's strange that we're all drawn and... Oh, no, wait. I see something. Up there. Penelope, come here. Oh, yes, Cinderella, what is it? Oh, look over there. It looks like a... I can't, I can almost make out some definition, but I see a path, I believe. Come on, everyone, follow me. I'm quite confident. And so they start off down this path that Cinderella thinks she can see. Well, Cinderella, can you describe me what you see? Well, it's a flagstone-covered path. It looks like a stone wall on our right. Beyond that, a field. And can anyone... Oh, I think I do recognize where we are, Cinderella. We're on the outskirts of Fairyton, the capital of Fairyland. I believe this is the country road. But I can only see gray. I don't know what you're seeing. But, okay, well, just follow me. Come on. Oh, there's something that looks like a cow, but it has scales. That's strange. Oh, that's a crabapple, Cinderella. That's a crabapple. We raise our children on crabapple milk. Those of us that are allowed to have children. Cinderella, I'm going to follow you. Penelope, I'm quite curious. You've never crabapple milk, and you've never really talked about much about being a fairy to us and the rules and the laws. And this crabapple milk's the first thing I've heard about fairies. Oh, Agatha, you with your questions. Could we talk about this later? Okay, girls, and Roland, we're at a crossroads now. I can't make out the words on the sign, but it's a Y, so we could either go to the left or the right. And what do you guys think? Penelope, any gut reaction? Well, that's a good question. Are you sure you see a crossroads, Cinderella? Because... Yes, I'm quite sure, Penelope. It's a crossroads and there's a sign. And it's split in a Y. We're up the... we're at a Y intersection, they call it, I believe. I'm no roadsmith. Well, Cinderella, I'm quite unnerved about this because, you see, in Fairyland, crossroads don't exist. We don't have crossroads in Fairyland. There is what one road a fairy travels with each step. And I can't remember the rest of the poem, but it's like, there's one road the fairy a fairy travels with each step further towards... I can't remember, but I know there's no crossroads. Oh, wait. I think I'm hearing something. Left, come left, don't go right. Well, one of us is going to need to choose, Penelope, so you don't... Agatha, do you have, Cinderella, I'm not sure. If she says there's no crossroads, you're going to have to close your eyes and trust your gut. Okay, well, let's go left, okay? Everyone follow me. So they go left. To me, I'm watching this whole thing unfold. I still just see gray. But as soon as they go left, and they walk about 10 paces, and that, I guess 10 paces is what it takes all of them. Roland's at the back. They're all on this leftward path, and then things start to become more defined. And first there's just a couple lines, like marking the side of the path, and then then a path starts to appear, and then trees, and then color slowly fades in. Everyone kind of gets more and more excited. Oh, I think I see the path now, Cinderella, I can see. Oh, yes, I see, Cinderella, you chose wisely. Cinderella, yes, I think we're in good shape. Okay, well, follow me. And then they notice that they start walking faster because they're excited, and they see something in the distance, so they pick up their pace a bit. And the next thing they know, they go up a hill, The paths become more and more defined, but then they get to the top. They're headed to the top of the hill. They can't see what's behind the hill. They're running to the crest of the hill, and Penelope's, "I'm sure we'll be able to see Farrington when we get to the top of the hill." "Oh, I can't wait. I love good views." Oh, and they're running. And Cinderella breaks into a sprint, and she goes over the hill. And then right behind her is Agatha, and she goes over the hill. And Agatha seems like as she crests it, she tries to stop. She's like waving her hands like she's falling. Doesn't look like she's falling off a cliff or anything. Don't worry, folks. I'm not going to throw them off a cliff. But she's trying to stop, and then Penelope plows into her back, and then Roland runs up behind them. And then as Roland gets over the top of the hill, we see that the path drops right into path kind of ends in midair, and they drop off the path into like a cell on wheels, kind of like Fisher Price, like you'd see in the circus, like a cage on wheels that you might keep a lion in, and they all fall into that. And there's nice straw bedding, so they manage not to fall on each other. And as soon as the four of them fall into it, everything turns gray again, and then the cart, the cell on wheels, whatever you want to call it, starts moving. It starts moving faster and faster. The gray starts going by. And you can't tell, but it's streaking by because they're moving so fast, but they can feel it bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. Everyone's in the cage holding on to each other, holding onto the bars for dear life, terribly afraid. And then the cage shoots into a tunnel, and the tunnel's gray, but it clearly is like a gray stone tunnel, and they're flying through the tunnel. It's still blurry, but they know they can feel the dampness of the air and the bumps in the road. And then it exits the tunnel in this huge, huge vaulted room, like a giant dome, almost like you'd imagine an ancient subterranean medieval subway station, just a giant vaulted stone room. And the cage rolls to the center of the room, where they can see it's surrounded by it. It's like in the center of an amphitheater. And the room's empty. And for a second, everyone just holds on to each other and waits, and looks around. Suddenly, Penelope looks around rapidly, and she goes, "Oh dear, this isn't good. This can't be good." "Oh, what's that, Miss Penelope? Why's that? What's the matter?" "Well, this is familiar, I believe. This is the Fairy Hall of Justice, where justice is served." "What do you mean it's the Hall of Justice, Penelope?" It's like what do you mean?" "Well, this is where they have the trials for fairies in poor standing, usually. So I'm sure you guys have nothing to worry about." Cinderella, what are you looking at?" Cinderella, are you with us, or are you still seeing things after you walked us into this moving cage?" "Well, stepmother, Penelope, Roland, it does seem we're captured. And if we're in the Hall of Justice, one can assume that, unfortunately, we're their prisoners, and at the very least, Penelope's going to have to face some sort of..." "Silence, you." "Oh, who said that? Who said that? Anybody?" "In the cage, all of you, silent. This is merely the voice of the Hall of Justice. You will all stand trial today for trespassing in Fairyland, creating a portal illegally." Hold on, folks, I got 1 second, I'm looking up other charges. Illegal use of fairy magic, breaking your fairy vows, changing your fairy name to Penelope, impersonating a fairy, triggering fairy volcano attacks, not carrying out your mission with promptness. So we will have trials for Cinderella, for manipulating fairy magic, Agatha for impersonating a fairy, illegal use of fairy magic, illegal trespassing. There's plenty of charges. Don't worry. We will be charging you with plenty more things. And your trial will begin in 5, 4, 3. Oh, sorry, excuse me, voice. You didn't mention I'm Roland. You didn't have to mention my name. Mr. Roland, you will. You, unfortunately, Mr. Roland. Let's see here. You've kind of been dragged along as far as we could tell on this whole thing. So you're not charged with anything but trespassing. But whatever the punishment is, you'll probably have to, you'll suffer the same punishment as the rest of the civilians. 2, 1, trial begin. With that, the cage falls away, and then suddenly, all around them are fairies of all shapes and sizes, which kind of look like humans, just like the fairy godmother. They're all, like normally, outside of this trial, they'd seem like pleasant-faced people, like people that you see on the street that seem not harmless, but comfortable with themselves, pleased and in harmony with the world, quite possibly. People that might actually be happy, or they could be on lithium or some other drug, or in the state called bliss. But yeah, today they're bloodthirsty, so they look like happy people that have been wronged. And they're everywhere, and they're jeering and charging and throwing things. And Penelope's like looking around. Oh, they've called everyone back, it seems. And it's not often we have a trial. There's never been a trial in my lifetime. Usually there's just a sentence. There's usually not a trial, so, oh dear. Well, okay. And then, like, a platform rises up with it. It's, like, not that different than our court. You know, there's a judge that his podium rises out of the rocks, and next to him's a stenographer, except she just uses her wand to, instead of a, stenopad or whatever the key. The key thing is there's a couple bailiffs, and they start rough handling everybody. And then there's a table with the prosecution, who look a bit like happy lawyers, if you've ever run across a happy lawyer. But today they got their game faces on. And they don't have public defenders. In Fairyland, you always defend yourself. You don't have a lawyer. So suddenly a table pops up in front of them and chairs, and they sit down. First Penelope, then Cinderella, then Agatha, then Roland. And they're on the right side. The prosecution's on the left. They're facing the judge. Crowds all around them on these stone risers, just like an amphitheater. And that's our court. That's our courtroom in this giant domed facility. Very Terry Gilliam-esque, I'd say. Let's just get straight to the trial. So the judge goes, "Doof, doof, doof. Order in the court, order in the court. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, which includes all the fairies of Fairyton and the greater lands of Fairyland. Order in the court, order in the court. Ladies and gentlemen of the prosecution, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, all guests are part of the jury. We're going to start the trial with the most serious charges against one Cinderella. Please rise and step towards myself, the Honorable Judge Camtas. Cinderella, you are charged with trespassing, illegal use of a flying volcano. How do you choose to plead? Oh, what? I mean, I get that we're kind of trespassing because we're here, but usually trespassing indicates some kind of intent, and we're just here because we had no other choice. So I was hoping we could work that out without this trial thing. Could we just talk? No, we're talking now. And I do not understand this volcano thing. The volcano appeared in the sky, wiped out my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, the king's army, almost killed us, and yet it averted war, threw him into a fit of mad rage, and then flew away. So I did not have anything to do with the volcano, and to my knowledge, no one else did either. And she kind of looks over, and Penelope and Agatha are kind of giving each other looks. Usually, isn't this the part of the story where you people like look at Roland or Agatha, or maybe even myself, and you realize that one of us like bears a striking resemblance to your like long lost god, and then you have a celebration. You put one of us on a chair, a throne chair, and carry us around, and then there's all sorts of confusion, and maybe you put us on trial then, but then the newfound god gets angry at you. No, that is not the case. And, regarding your explanation of volcano, that's insufficient. I was hoping to maintain a more polite demeanor in this courthouse, but your actual... Oh, dear. Your actual technical charge is apocalyptic whoring. Now, we know that you used sexual favors to trigger... Cinderella, we've been watching you a long time. We know you're not an idiot. We know of your intelligence and your cunning. We know that you worked with this Agatha person who schooled you in hard knocks. And we've watched you as you've worked with Penelope. We know you wanted the king's army gone. We know you wanted to avert war. And you got what you wished as you slept with the king and threw caution to the wind. You knew we would launch an appropriate response, and the volcano was what we considered appropriate at the time. And hence you're facing the most serious charge among non-fairies of apocalyptic whoring. Because it could cause, apocalyptic results. I mean, what if the volcano veered off course, Cinderella? Let's say someone, we're us fairies, we don't know everything. And we merely sent it out because we were told. Cinderella kind of gets that look on her face like she's about to cry, and she looks at Penelope and Agatha, and they kind of look like frozen. And Cinderella does, she said, I just don't know, I did not... What's the penalty for apocalyptic whoring? Okay? Because I didn't do it. Oh, Cinderella, the penalty is death, as are most of the other charges you all are facing. Are you guys sure you want to do this? I mean, I have to get back to my people. The king cannot be trusted with them. And we have to figure out a plan to deal with that. I can't deal... All of a sudden, at the end of the table, I'm going to make a sound. Okay. Excuse me, Cinderella. All of a sudden, Roland stands up. He had cleared his throat. That was him clearing his throat, not me. Roland stands up. Cinderella, why don't you have a seat? Honorable Judge Astam. It's It's Castam. Yes, Your Honor. Honorable Judge Castam. Esteemed prosecutors. Lovely stenographer and bailiffs. Gathered jury and honorable citizens of Fairyton. The greater lands of Fairyland. I am Roland Boxta, and I'm here to represent and speak on behalf of the Queen, Cinderella, Agatha, and Penelope, and to speak on these charges you speak of, and we'll go with the more proper sounding illegal use of volcano. For in my land, if you were to call the Queen an apocalypse whore, you'd be beheaded on the spot, no trial. Sir, I'd draw my blade and cut your head out myself. Now, meanwhile, while Roland gets up, it's like he's slipped into some sort of trance. You know, Penelope, Cinderella, and Agatha are just staring on in bafflement and wonder. Now, Your Honor, members of the jury, you speak of illegal use of volcanoes as if they had an apocalyptic impact on Fairyton itself. Now, by my calculations, this volcano was never on a impact course with Fairyton. Is that true, Your Honor? Well, yes, but the law does not allow for... Okay, Your Honor. Your law is what you speak of. For I already said if we were going by my law, you'd be gone. You'd be a goner, Your Honor. And I might have to behead each and every one of you. But just because the law says I shall, and I may, does not mean I will. Now, Your Honor, prosecutors, let's talk about the facts of this case. The facts are Cinderella, the fairy godmother, and Agatha have been existing and living their lives outside of Fairyton. Is that correct? Well, I guess Penelope has been. Cinderella and Agatha have existed purely outside of Fairyton. Is that correct? Correct. Your Honor, objection from the prosecution. Oh, we have an objection, Mr. Roland. Yeah, I just object. Well, Your Honor, you overrule that. Now, at some point in the middle of planning the Fairy Sadie Hawkins dance, Miss Penelope was sent to intervene in the life of Cinderella. Is that correct? Well, that's classified, sir. So I cannot reveal that to you. I'm sorry. Okay, well, how about... classified, eh? What makes it classified, sir? Classified by whom? It's just classified according to this paper I have. See here. Here, I'll hand it to you. Here, look right. It says Cinderella, case 445776, signed, classified. Okay. And how are you supposed to interpret the law without the complete information, Your Honor? Well, you see, that's the way things are done here. We don't have many lawbreakers, so we don't have many needs for. What is this nonsense, young man? Because I'm losing. Your Honor, jury, prosecution. When we crossed through into the fairy universe, we entered a vast zone of grayness, where everything was a shade of gray. Or it almost felt like we were lost and very unfamiliar and disorienting. Ah, yes, that is the great gray zone that protects Fairyton from invaders. You were only allowed in because we allowed you through the gray zone, so most invaders would be lost there. Well, Your Honor, what would you say if I just took my magical powers and went into the gray zone and colorized it? Well, colorized it? What do you mean? Well, I just took some painting techniques and painted it to look like real life. It would look close to real life. You know, I'd paint over the grays in colors of my choosing. But that's not where we intended. We intended to be a vast gray zone. How are we going to get lost in colorization, right? This is nonsense. Oh, is it? Oh, so it's nonsense to you that I just come from out of town and paint one of your lands and just change it to my liking. Well, yes, yeah. Oh, you're some kind of metaphor, eh? It is. You just send off a soldier to intervene in this young woman's life. Well, I should say the results initially were quite good. She was going to be queen, and we and why? Why did you intervene in this woman's life? Oh, because we were supposed to. We fairies, we do what needs to be done. We do what needs to be done. It's not a grand life. In fact, we don't have many memories. We do what needs to be done, and then our day is done. Part of the fairy instructional code. We do what needs to be. Every fairy does. I my memory's fogged because, and I do my job. My job today is to prosecute this trial and have you all put to death. And I can't say that I feel great, but I can say that it's what's been a... Okay, let's slow down, Your Honor. Honorable Castam. Now, you say you don't always... You just do what needs to be done. You can't tell me why. Can you tell me how? Well, that's classified again. And all of a sudden, you see people of Fairyton are kind of looking at each other in the audience. Even the prosecution, they don't know where Roland's going. I'm not quite sure I understand it, but but they also are like, these questions really don't get raised in Fairyton. Well, sir, if you're going to forget it, and we're going to be put to death, then it won't, and you know the answer. Oh, correct. I went there this morning. Went where? Well, it's supposed to be classified. He looks over at the prosecution. They kind of shrug. We'll be put to death. Or, Your Honor, if we're not put to death, how could you risk taking lives of... Like, you just killed those soldiers because they were... Well, the volcano killed the soldiers. Volcanoes kill soldiers, not people. Not fairies. So, yeah. Volcano did that. So you'd be willing to take the lives of people just on rules alone, without us knowing the whole story? Well, okay. Back up. 1 second. What I'm about to share with you it's unknown to people outside of Fairyton. Non-fairies normally don't disclose this information because it's just unheard of. So if it's unheard of, it can't be good. And if we're not allowed, it can't be good. Well, sir, Your Honor, I'm just curious how things work. And who's behind all this is the greater question. Well, that's the forbidden question. We can't ask that question. We do what needs to be done, and that is the fairy way. Now, as to how, I know this will be controversial, but you fine young man, you have convinced me that this needs to be spoken aloud. Each morning, a fairy awakes in the cottage, and we do have some time to either enjoy some tea, some biscuits. Some of us like to talk to bunnies or birds or sit in the garden. Some of us join each other and have tea together or play a game, go for walks, all sorts of lovely things, We have quite leisurely morning before what we call half-dawn midday. Quarter day, we call it. I think you might call it quarter day, maybe, I don't know. Quarter the day elapse, we go to work. Okay? Now, if you're already on assignment, you know your assignment. You go off through your portal and you deal with your assignment.
It might be as simple as, well, let's use the bunny. Oh, a bunny is fallen and it can't get up. You just simply help the bunny up and it goes along. Might be as complex as helping a woman become princess and then keeping her from getting impregnated by a man by all accounts I could say is a bad man. We fairies, we try to do no harm, but we must follow what we're told. Now, if a fairy has no assignment and they go to work, you find your legs just walking along. And you walk along, and you'll reach a glade, or a patch in the woods, or a spot near a lake. And then suddenly, the earth will shake a little bit. And then the earth in the court starts to shake. And then the ground will tremble even further, the actual surface of the ground. And then some of the stones right in the center, right in front of the judge, the stones start to bounce. Just a circle of stones starts to bounce. We go, and suddenly out of the ground comes, and then out of the ground comes the Well of Work. And then a well comes up. A pretty standard looking well, but it must be, well, if it was a normal well, it'd be powered by a great spring because there's water right up to the surface of the well, which is about, it's like one of those stone wells about waist high, circular stone well, circular stone well. Yeah, really, the stone well, you say? Oh, the Well of Work. Would have expected something more melodious, like the Well of Wondrous Work. Well, that's quite nice, but no, it's just a Well of Work because we go there. You look in the well. A scene starts to play out on the water, and then you find yourself immersed in the scene, and your assignment is transferred to you. So this well here, this is the Well of Work. Why, I suppose it is, well, yes, it looks quite like the Well of Work, yeah, I suppose it is. And why do you suppose, Your Honor, it just appeared here? If I was, what do you suppose would happen if I looked in the Well of Work? Well, I don't quite know, young man. Why don't you go? Okay, I'll look. So Roland walks over and he looks over the surface of the well. And he sees dark swirling, gray mist, and then an evil face laughing. Ah, ha, 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 ha. What are you raised in a barn? Ah, ha, 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 ha. Roland says, that's strange. I saw something in there. Well, what did you see, young man? Well, it's confidential, sir. But I can tell you it's bad. It was a bad man I saw. Well, I guess that's it. Yeah, I saw a bad man in there. Well, it could just be your imagination then. Well, Your Honor, I have a couple more questions about this Well of Woe. All of a sudden, you hear like a sound of arrows just... And some arrows fly down like from the ceiling. I mean, they materialize through the ceiling. Fly down, and they hit 3 random fairies in the head that are watching from the jury, and they drop dead. Everybody's like, what the heck? What was that? Oh, well, that was strange. Suppose it was someone's assignment, and they were just carrying it out, or maybe they didn't care. That's never happened before, but kind of maybe it's like that volcano. Bit unsettling. That probably isn't good, but... Let's go on with this trial, okay? Can you get to your point? We'll probably need to have the Fairy Council have to meet here. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Roland. What would you suppose if I said, Mr. Sagatha, come here? Oh, yes, Roland. What can I help you with? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, prosecution, this well controls your lives, it seems. I was never aware, in our world, our lives are assigned by something different than a well. Our parents, it's called our role, our societal role. For I was a milkmaid's son. And since I couldn't be a milkmaid myself because our cows were slaughtered in the great cow-killing fever, I became an enlisted man. I joined the army, so I changed my role. But still, I was told I'm not of royal blood. I cannot. All I could be is a soldier. And I rose up, and I had the honor of being assigned to the princess's guard, the head of the princess's guard. Now, at the time, there was no princess and no prospects for one. So it was kind of a bummer. And then suddenly, a wondrous beauty became a princess. And I had the honor of... Well, again, the princess's guard is kind of a term. I just sit at the gate, and if someone's there to see the princess, I pass them on to the king's guard. And I say, oh, this man's cleared to see the princess, this woman's cleared to see the princess. Oh, so you're kind of like a gatekeeper-ish. Gate watchman. Yeah, more or less, okay? But sometimes, people like Cinderella, they break their role. She would have just been a cinder girl, destined to take abuse by her horrible, at the time, stepmother. So who's behind all this? Is there some great fairy god you pray to that enables you to, like, what would happen if you didn't complete your assignment? Well, you'd be punished, and your mind would be erased, and then you'd start a new assignment, probably. Or you'd be killed, and you wouldn't know it because you'd be dead. And your assignment will be killed out. Your assignment will be done. The well sees it. I mean, we saw it. We knew when we all got an alert from the well. Wells were popping up everywhere and telling us that Cinderella was sleeping, we saw her sleeping with the prince. All right. Your Honor, members of the jury, this is ridiculous. What if someone less than benevolent is behind all this? Well, that would mean our lives are... Why don't fairies have the right to choose to do what needs to be done within... I don't like any of this. But I accept it. And we were doing what we needed to be done. If we were following the fairy code, we needed to rescue Cinderella from the prince. Obviously, you are supposed to help Cinderella for a reason that's confidential or unknown. But we know that Cinderella is a good woman. She would be a good queen if she could rule, a fair queen, an honorable queen. And we know that she's pure of heart and her intentions are for the greater good. So we did what we needed to do to continue to keep her safe. And that included trespassing or sexual apocalypse. That was just apocalypse of my heart. Abuse of fairy magic, whatever else you want to do. Chewing on fairy magic wands. What? You chewed on them? Relax. Okay. So, yeah, none of us are perfect here, Your Honor. And all of a sudden, what Roland's trying to think of his next point, like 5 spears come through and spear 5 more fairies. This has got the judge. Oh dear, this is not good. Maybe we're missing our assignments by this trial. Is that what's, I'm going to need to look into, I have one more question, and then I will rest my case. Has anyone ever looked in the well and said no to their assignment? Not that I know of, no. Has anyone ever drank from the well? Whoa. Drinking from the well is forbidden as asking the question that may not be asked. Drinking from the well would give you, would give you forbidden knowledge and you'd instantly self-destruct. Well, there's Agatha here. Agatha, would you mind self-destructing if necessary to save Cinderella? Oh, Roland, I've lived such a terrible life, and I've been such a burden to Cinderella, that no, I guess I do not mind. Well, I'm just going to take this glass here that I'm pulling out of my pocket, this glass jar. I'm going to dip it in the well, and I'm going to give it to Agatha to drink. Agatha, Miss Witcher, put a stopper in that one. And then, and as he's dipping the water in the well, a couple rocks come through and materialize, and boom, they land on the jury, smash like 10 more fairies. Boom, another one. Boom, another one. 3. All right, we're gonna have to wrap the trial. Okay. Go ahead and Agatha, drink from the well. No, this is gonna. Agatha drinks the water. Nothing happens. Agatha drinks some water. Nothing happens. Agatha says, well, now I have the knowledge of the well. All of a sudden, a fireball comes through. Blows up. And Agatha looks in the well. She says, oh, my goodness, this is going to need to be a mistrial, Your Honor. It looks like the king's forces are gathered at the portal. And there's some sort of evil wizard with him, and they're launching fireballs and arrows and cannons into the portal. They seem poised to destroy all of Fairyton. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, dear. You didn't close the portal behind you, Penelope. Well, I wasn't the last one through. Who was the last one through, Roland? Was that you? Oh, dear, miss. Yes, Your Honor. Your Honorable Castam. Oh, dear. Oh, no, I did leave the door open. Oh, bother. All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, prosecution, I need, in the honor of an unprecedented attack of Fairyton, I need to call this a mistrial. Your Honor. Your Honor, this is Cinderella speaking. It is our fault the gate is open, and we will help you deal with this situation. So we will do our best. Oh, my goodness. Cinderella's looking at it, and she sees it was another fireball. This one comes straight out of the well, goes into the ceiling, explodes. It was like a magic missile type spell out of the wizard's fingers. Fireball, wizard, I don't know, spell. And the ceiling starts caving. Everyone's like, run for your lives. And then arrows are flying. And it's like the king's army, or what's left of it, is just shooting stuff straight into the portal. And they run for their lives, screaming and shouting and crying to escape out of the courthouse. And that's where we're going to stop tonight. Fairyton under attack, a mistrial, and a whole lot of chattering that episode. But yeah, Fairyton's under attack by the king, some sort of evil wizard that we haven't run into before, and his National Guard or something. So we'll be back soon. We'll be back Tuesday night with another episode of After the Glass Slipper. So as we pick up tonight's story with Fairyton in danger, the Fairy Council's been called, and Cinderella, Agatha, and Penelope and Roland have agreed that they're like, we'll do whatever we can to help. And so they all gather around in the council chambers, the Fairy Council of 13 members. And they decide they need to get a close-up view, so they go to the edge of the portal. So they go to this spot in Fairyton where they go on the edge of the gray area where they can see back into the portal. They can no longer close it now that someone on the other side is throwing stuff through it. But they go to the edge, and they see this old wizard with robes, gray robes, and gray hair. Much meaner looking version of Gandalf. Kind of like, remember that wizard or that Mickey Mouse work? I'm not allowed to even say the word Mickey Mouse on here. I don't know. But, Mickey Mouse worked for in Fantasia. Kind of looks like that guy, but even scarier. A little bit scarier. Maybe because he's like 20 years younger than that. And the wizard's standing there with the king. You can see the wizard senses their presence. Gives the elbow to the king, and the king, People of Fairyland, this is the king, and since this portal is in my kingdom, I consider you my subjects, and I call on you to all surrender or be destroyed. The Fairy Council kind of looks at each other. Yeah, Cinderella looks at the Fairy Council. She says, can I say something about it? Oh, for some reason, no, it's a one-way. Portal only works with communication from the other side. It's not really supposed to be left open, and we have, we fairies, we mostly speak through our actions. People of Fairyton, you have until dawn tomorrow, our time. I'm not sure how time works over there in Fairyland, but my wizard will weaken you at that point. At dawn tomorrow, we'll launch an assault on Fairyton, weaken you, and then take the rest of you captive that survived the wizard's attack. So, I suggest tomorrow morning you all, you could be my loyal subjects. Be quite nice. And we're also expecting, we have 4 fugitives we believe are loose in Fairyland. If you have them, return them to us. And we will, what will we do again? He looks over the wizard. Spare their lives. And we'll spare most of your lives. Okay? All right, good day. And then the king walks off, and they kind of let the portal, the gray area, disappear, and they're in the fairy council chambers. And Cinderella, well, what are you going to do? What are we going to? How are you going to stop them? Well, we wouldn't have needed to, Cinderella, if you guys had closed the portal like most people do. I don't know if you just walk into your. Oh, I forgot you live in a castle. You have someone that closed the doors for you. Well, I didn't before. But yeah, I would be quite mad at my sisters. They would always come in and leave the door open, and then dust and leaves would come in, and I'd have to clean. Oh, I get your point. Well, it's no worry. We, here at the Fairy Council, we fairies, we don't believe in half measures. So we're just going to have to wipe out your town completely. The king, the wizard, won't be a problem. We're just going to, launch a strike tonight. We'll wipe out your town. We shouldn't, no other areas, no other city-state or towns, except for on the edges. Anyone within that kingdom will probably be wiped out and of existence, more or less. No, we can't, it'll be confidential. We might send a volcano again. Well, we already did that. And what else have we sent? A cheese muck monster we've sent. We'll probably do something different. I don't know. And obviously you can't have any apocalyptic sex. Pre-apocalyptic sex, as we've observed, is quite enjoyable, Cinderella, so you might want to go. Well, then you'd die. Excuse me, this is Agatha. I'm wondering, what will become of us? Well, that's a good question. We like you folks. And we'll probably vote on it, but I'm presuming this guy, he's one of the Fairy Council. Politician. I mean, he sounds great, but he's a politician. Looks back at the other Fairy Council members. I think we'll vote to have you as guests of Fairyland forever. And what will that mean for us exactly? Well, you just sit around, I guess. Since you can't be fairies, you can't take assignments. So mostly, you kind of have garden time is what we like to call it. What we do in the mornings and the evenings, yeah. But you'll be able to do that all day. Wow, that sounds quite nice. Cinderella, could I have share my garden with Cinderella? That sounds awful. And will Penelope be going back to work? Oh, quite, yes. Penelope will give you a little time off to plan that Sadie Hawkins dance. We're all looking forward to that quite a bit. But yeah, you guys will just be, I guess in your country, in your world, what do they call it when a king steps down and is alive and lets his son take over? Retired, they call it. I can't be retired. I'll lose my mind. I can't. I was wondering, my mom and my mom are still, what will become of them? They're back there. Well, Mr. Roland, I'm afraid to tell you they'll be gone. And you have 2 moms. Well, my mom, and then my dog, I call my dog Mom. It's easy, Mom. Like, Mom, I'm coming. My mom knows I'm coming. Come on, Mom. Then the dog comes. So, what do you mean they'll be gone?
And Cinderella here, I can't. You're going to destroy all my people. There are plenty of innocent people to be killed with this. This is just not acceptable. Agatha, what do you think? Well, you did say something about kings stepping down, and that gives me an idea with Roland's legal. Roland, what happened with all that legal? It gave me an idea, but what was? You almost changed person. Oh yes, my mom, my mother, mom. Yeah, my mom. She liked to tell me stories with the cows. She said it helped their milk and it quieted me down, calmed me down. So she would tell me stories of Larry, the legal ladybug, Larry the ladybug lawyer. And it turns out, according to Mom, the ladybug kingdom has a system they call it the legal system there. It's kind of like your courts here, and it's exactly like it. According to the stories, Larry was a ladybug lawyer. According to each story Mom would tell me, Larry would have a case, and there just happened to be this one case I remember Mom told me a few times. Mom said it was Larry the ladybug lawyer in the case of the missing free will. And it so happens it was just similar to what we had here. So I just pretended I was Larry the legal ladybug. That's it. Okay, Roland. What I'm thinking, folks, what we have, I believe, is a return of the king type situation. Roland, do you think you could pretend you're this lawyer, Larry the ladybug, for a bit longer? Just pretend he's a king? Oh, you mean like in Larry the ladybug lawyer in the case of the missing king, when he pretends to be king and he visits another kingdom looking for a missing king? Somewhat, kind of, Roland. In this story, Larry the ladybug lawyer pretends he's a king that's returning to a land that has a king that's lower than him. Larry the ladybug in the story is actually a royal king, and he's come back to claim his kingdom from an usurper of the throne, whose father was a lower lord, not as high a lord as you found out your father. Oh, okay, so Larry the ladybug is the king of kings, kind of. Whoa, Roland, not the king of kings. That's a dangerous term. But yes, you're a higher lord than Cinderella's husband. Oh, so I could have him beheaded and steal his wife if I wish, quite right? Right, Larry the ladybug lawyer, who you're portraying, can. I could do that, yes. All right, so here's what I'm thinking, and we'll call you King Larry. Lord Larry of Ladyburg. Lord Larry of Ladyburg. And you will have us as prisoners, myself, Cinderella, and Penelope. Oh, no, Penelope. That would confuse things. Oh, yes, you could be, we'll change Penelope. You'll be, yeah. You'll return with us as prisoners. Myself, Cinderella, and Penelope, you can be the king's mother. All right? Okay, what's that mean? We'll go back. Fairies, just give us a day. We'll go back, and we'll fix everything, okay? We'll close the portal. You don't need to destroy and wipe out our town and our townspeople and Roland's two moms, the spoken narrative history of Larry the Ladybug lawyer. I mean, that would be terrible. So we'll go back and we're going to fix everything. Don't you guys worry. And with that, they had the fairies open another portal. They had the fairies open a portal just outside of town. And the fairies used their power to change some mice and rats and stuff into horses and soldiers. And the King Larry of Ladyburg, rode forth with his prisoners back to town. He reached the castle, and he rode at the head, dressed in splendid attire, king-like attire, or lord-like attire, because he's a lord. He said, "Throw open your gates!" And then the town's guard said, "Who goes there? Who goes there, you dare ask? I, Lord Larry of Ladyburg, who goes there?
Who closes his gates? I come to claim what is my father's and my father's forefathers. Who runs this town? Well, sir, what's the king's name? Do you know the king's name, Larry, Bob? The king, his father was a lower lord. Remember, during the, does this have anything to do with the purging of the kings? Because that's when I was escorted from town by my mom to protect me, so I could lay claim to my father's throne, since he was a higher middle lord. If the killing had stopped there, but they killed all the way to the lower lords. Oh, yes, sir, they killed all the way down to the lowest lord, and he was hiding in a cave, and then he became king because he was the only lord left. Oh, I want to speak with this king. Well, he's dead. He was thrown out a window. And his son's king now. He's not that great a king, to be honest, these lower lords. I mean, I'm all for upward mobility of soldiers and such, but these lower lords, they're not, yes, sir, I say open the gates. I will rest my soldiers on the outskirts of town. My escorts, I bring a gift for your former king, or soon-to-be former king, as he'll serve under me soon. Open the gates. I have 3. Prisoners 3. Oh, yes, sir, Lord Larry. So they open the gates, and they trot into town, and they get into the town square. It's Roland, or Lord Larry of Ladyburg, Agatha, Penelope, Cinderella, Agatha, Penelope, and Cinderella. And he just goes in straight up, and they go into the town center, and he waits, and then the king comes with the wizard. And some of the soldiers. The king and the wizard and the soldiers show up, and Roland goes to step off sword. He almost falls. He says, "Are you the king, supposed king of this town?" "Yes, sir. My name is King." "Oh, no. You're a son of the lower lord, right?" Yes, sir. I'm king, and this is my new wizard, Pyle." Yes, I'm the wizard Pyle. Who are you?" "I'm Lord Larry of Ladyburg. Proper claimant to this throne, for my father was a middle-high lord, not a lower lord. He was in the highest house of lords. His blood, he was quite a high lord. The Ladyburgs, we've always been quite high on the chain of lords. If you go and look in the books of history, you will see so." "Oh, I'm sorry. My father purged all the books of history, as he became king, rightful king after the purge." "Well, I'm rightful king now. I'm afraid to give you the bad news, son. Lower lord, son of the lower lord is what I'll call you." "You'll call me king, or my wizard will strike you down." "Huh? How dare you? You will not strike down Lord Larry of Ladyburg. Now you, Wizard Pyle, I ask you to step out of town, where my soldiers wait, and you can go free, or you could serve me as the new king, but I bring prisoners 3 that you, I heard, were looking for." "Ah, yes, Wizard Pyle. Where's Ladyburg? I've never heard of it in all my travels of the world." "You need not worry about the wizard, for wizards don't rule, they serve kings." "Yes, they serve kings, the king." "Well, why don't you should have a banquet for me, even if I'm a proper claimant to the throne, but we could work through all this. But you need to have a proper banquet for me before you can't just have you're threatening me with your wizard and such. So I have my prisoners. Why don't you show me to the guest lord's castle? I assume you have one. It's right over there, I believe. And, we can work this all out. I happen to have some books of history with me, so I can show you my claim to the throne, for my father sent me away in safety to be safe from lower lords usurping thrones. And so, why don't we take my prisoners? I know you were looking for them. I have a treaty with the fairies, so we could close up that fairy portal and be done with all this whole mess. Well, look, this is the king speaking to you, Lord Larry of Ladyburg. I don't know why you sound so familiar, so I'm a bit intimidated. A handmaiden, I think, once told me tales of a... Did you build your money on... whatever, I remember hearing about the Larry Ladybird, something from one of my milk mothers or something, but all right, you will be our guest but we will not close the portal to fairyland. The fairies do not surrender to me. We will destroy them. And my wizard will take your prisoners. Oh, no, your wizard won't take any of my prisoners. Well, in fact, one of the prisoners is my wife. Former wife, Cinderella. As Lord Larry of Ladyburg, I'd like to present an adjournment from our arguing. I will take Cinderella, my guest, and my prisoner, and her assistant, my mother, and your wizard here can take this former witch of yours, right? Lord Ladyburg, it is I. Lord Ladyburg, I was once the witch of this kingdom, and I am a fairy, so I should pay for the sins of the fairy. Maybe I could talk some sense into them and work with this wizard as his prisoner to come to some sort of understanding, or talk the fairies into surrendering, if that is all this powerful wizard Pyle. So why don't I'll sacrifice myself as his prisoner. If you find that my former king, I did serve you with pride as Mistress Agatha, though I've lost that, and I shamed myself in your honor, king. Would that be good? Lord Ladyburg could take Cinderella and his mother, and I will go with your wizard for the night. All right, as king. Let it be done. Pyle, how's that sound? Sounds excellent, my king. I will take this fairy witch with me. So they split up, and Roland rolls back to the guest house, or the guest castle, I guess they call it. Whatever they call it. They go back there. He goes back there with Cinderella and Penelope. And they have to trust that Agatha's going to work everything out. So Agatha gets escorted by a couple guards back to the wizard's tower. The wizard has her hands bound, and he has her placed in a chair right in front of the portal to Fairyland. Fairyland. The portal to Fairyland, Fairytown. She sits there a while, stares into the gray, and sees the fairies kind of planning out. They have one of those, like, war boards, like you see in the war movies, where they're moving pieces about, like volcanoes and boulders and comets, trying to see what's going to be the quickest thing to destroy the town. She's kind of watching, and then Pyle comes in. Ah, Mistress Agatha, you see your people about to suffer. They panic, trying to plan as I watch, but their plans will be foiled. And I've been gone from this area a long time, and I know you people, you fairies, have been mucking about here with my plans. For who do you think this Lord Larry is? He's nothing to me. He'll be put to death tonight, as will Cinderella, as will his mother. It'd be a shame. I guess I'll have to kill Cinderella, because you spoke to the king. You're mucking about, keeping him from giving birth. I already expected to return to that dolt being king, and a son that I could raise as my own. For it is my dream to lord over now. For I've had many a dream to run this land, to speak into the ear of a king who could rule. For I've had many dreams, and I would raise this son to be king,
in secret. As this young man would be raised to be king by the king and the queen, this young prince, as this young prince would be raised to be king, I would be raising him in secret to do my bidding, to expand a great empire, where I would rule in the background, whispering in the ear of the king. And while now you've mucked about and delayed my plans, I'm quite pleased with it, because now I can rule over your land as well with this portal. And I've always found you fairies. You call yourself, oh God, I'm your godmother and I'm your godfather. I've watched you quite a bit over the years, studied you. And I've always wondered what it is about you. There's some secret I've been unable to lock. I know you do what needs to be done. You're always on these little missions, trying to keep Cinderella from giving birth to the king's son, the latest. But I've seen you, helping ugly ducklings find new homes, or bringing rain to parched deserts. A lot of soothing crying people. I know you do a lot of that. Appearances at funerals, weddings that are not, I know you showed up at a few. I've seen you deal at weddings with cold feet, as they say. I know you're always about when babies are born. But I don't understand why. It's something I've always wondered, like, you always want to have captured you and tortured some of you. And you always say, well, we do what needs to be done, and that is all. Take my life, or whatever. Sometimes they've escaped, and sometimes I've been attacked by mysterious dairy monsters and such, but I've never gotten to the bottom of you people. Why do you do? I do what needs to be done. And you, Agatha, I see in your face, you don't have the soft features of most fairies. You're quite not unpleasant to look at. You have a handsomeness about you, but it's like you're like a rock face, yes. One of those rocks that's taken too many tumbles down the hill. But you still have something, but you're nothing like a fairy. A fairy is like a mud ball, and you're like a rock. Yeah. You must be high up among them. And so you'll answer my questions. Or you'll see your people slowly die off one by one, painfully and slowly, dying off in pain and slowness, until they surrender. I see them planning to strike back, but what they don't know what they don't know will hurt them, because I have stole from a wizard quite a long time ago a little something I like to call the mirror of reflection. And if you place it in front of a portal like that, whatever is done will come back at you. Do you understand what I mean? Do you have anything to say? Your people would destroy themselves. And I'm going to tell them about the mirror, because it's kind of like a deterrent. I'd rather rule over your fairies and have you do what needs to be done for me. Think about how easy it would be for me to rule. With these kings, I plan on telling what to do. I just need to know why. So, how many of you people need to die before you tell me, Agatha? I know you people have no ambition, so you might not be able to understand what I'm talking about. Wizard Pyle, that's your name. Well, Wizard Pyle, yes, I might have a face unlike any fairy you've ever seen. I might not have the pleasant round eyes, and the smile, and the glow. I might seem cold to you, for that is I was born with a curse. I was a child of half fairy and half human. Well, I didn't know, I've always been curious how fairies procreate, and why is this it? This is the only time I've heard of a breed between. I didn't know fairies and humans could intermix as such. Well, that's why I'm cursed. For it was the work of a witch. She cursed my mother and a fairy that had crossed her to have a child. And I was born to this world, this cruel world, with one foot in each world. And it's cruel to be in that world. So I was born to the fairy world. I was born a half fairy, half human, and cursed to be both for the worst qualities. For I was a fairy, I had to do what needed to be done. But I knew there could have been more. I didn't want to just simply do what needed to be done. But yet I had no choice. I knew, like you, it would be like to be in control, to tell someone what to do, to make someone pay for their pretty little face. Oh, I'm so pretty. To make them suffer. Yes, I knew the curse of both things. For that knowledge of thinking I could have power over other people brought me nothing but misery. Thinking I could take something from those pretty faces, make it my own, did me nothing. What is this you're going about, which I ask you a question? I don't care about your family lineage or your suffering. Soon your suffering will be put to an end. But why do they do what they do? If they tortured you so, you could serve me. Just show me. Show me. Tell me. Just tell me why it is you do what you do. Maybe I will spare you and your friends. Ah, Wizard Pile, you're so wise. See, my mind would not be wiped as the other fairies were. And so I will show you. You see, untie me, and I will show you what is in my pocket. Well, I don't trust you, witch. I don't trust a fairy witch, a half fairy, half human. Okay, well, in my pocket is a jar of water, simply poured on the floor of the tower. Well, it is the essence of what we, as fairies, call. It is the water of the well. We us fairies serve at. All right. So he pulls out the water from her pocket that actually is from the well. He pours it in the center of the room, and he's on guard. And actually, it like creates a well, and a well rises up. And the wizard steps back. He's about 10 feet back, and he says, "What is this thing?" That is the well of a fairy serve at. It's a well of what needs to be done, the well of work. It's where we see our next assignment, what needs to be done. So if you were to look in there, Wizard Pile, you would probably see what you need to do next. Either destroy Fairyland, destroy me, or capture me. Ah, yes. So you want me to look in the well. I could see in your stony, cruel face a hint of evil, much like my mirror. I see myself in you, the darkness about your eyes. So I know your game. So why don't you stand up with your hands bound and look in the well yourself and tell me what you see? Because I don't trust you. It must be because of your human side you're so repulsive to me. Oh, repulsive. That is a cruel, cruel word, Wizard Pile. Such a long word for a man that doesn't have any royal blood, who could never be king himself. You could only whisper in the ears of the king. But yes, I'll just look in the well and tell you what I see. And you'll see my face isn't burned off by the water, or a creature isn't going to reach out and grab me. And I'll tell you exactly what I see. Agatha walks up to the well, and she looks over, and she falls silent. A tear goes to her eye, and then she turns away from the well. Pile. Oh, what did you see, witch? What did you see? I did not expect that. It turns out what needs to be done. I saw you throwing me down the well. All of a sudden the well shakes, and the water drains from it. becomes like one of those bottomless wells that just seems endless pile. So, I guess my sacrifice is to be destroyed at your hands. Oh, yes, I'm sure that's what you Pyle walks up to the well and looks down. He sees it. He throws a pebble down. It falls, and this... like it's evaporated with some sort of magical power. And he says, so you saw me throw you down that well. Do you not think I was not read any tales as a young wizard? You think I went to wizard school? You think my mind is not as crafty as yours? You want me to just throw you down that well, huh? And then you're going to turn into some kind of eagle and come up and claw my eyes out or something. I sense the power within this well. I'm going to cast myself in. And Pyle jumps in. Then Agatha, he goes, ah. And Agatha throws, ha 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 ha. You fool. Didn't you ever hear the story of Larry the Ladybug Lawyer? In the case of the Briar Rabbit or something, I don't know, you fool. Then she she's just laughing. Thinks he can best me. Now I have this mirror. I have the wizard. I'll let everybody out. Scumbag trying to mess with me. Call me Stone Fate. And all of a sudden, I see all the hands of. Comes from the well. I see all that needs to be done. Now I guess it's kind of like, I thought you'd just be, evaporated, she's thinking. And all of a sudden the portal from Fairyland starts to crack. But not like it's being destroyed, like it's just becoming actual reality. It cracks and it falls away. The illusion, it just becomes an open tunnel. Things start to crack. And then the earth shakes more. I have the power now of all Fairyland. Then it's like, oh, shit. And then, I'm going to destroy you all. And then all of a sudden, like, reality starts to crack. The portal, the tunnel starts to expand, and then, like, pieces of reality start falling out, and then you can see Fairyland on the other side. He's like, I'll destroy you all. And then, like, green fire starts shooting out of the top of the well. And then Agatha's left shoulder gets hit with, like, one of these green fire pieces, sizzling. She can feel herself, getting sizzled up. And then she remembers that the mirror's there, and she grabs a mirror. Boom! Puts it on top of the well. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks. Type stuff, Everything's shaking, reality's vibrating, the air's vibrating. Sorry if you're asleep and trying to sleep through this, but... and the well's gone. It's dead silence. Agatha's just like, oh shit. It's gone. She's listening. Nothing's happening. Agatha's like, okay. I think everything's okay. And then she's kind of looking through, and she's like, okay, well, the world's kind of like a mosaic now. Like, part of it's the real world. Part of it's you can see into Fairyland. She kind of reaches out and touches some stuff. And she goes, okay, there's some reality, She's like touching a desk and touching a candle. Okay, that's there. Then she touches the empty spots in the mosaic where you can see Fairyland. And she notices they're kind of like water. And she's like, oh, maybe this is something as a result of the well. Then she looks through and she sees a couple fairies being chased by like some sort of liquid milk monster. And he grabs one of the fairies and eats it. And then she looks in another corner, and she sees the floating volcano and shooting lava at some of the fairies. And then she feels her tower shaking, the wizard's tower. She's like, oh my gosh. She looks out the window. And the muck monster's on there. He's got his arms around the tower, and he's shaking it. And she looks and she sees monsters everywhere in fairyland and in reality, chasing people around. And she's like, I gotta find it. So she goes to race out of the tower. And we're going to leave it at that, I think, tonight, because it seems like maybe the wizard pile got destroyed. But some sort of reality short-circuited, or not reality, but something broke. And clearly some of the monsters have been released from the Well of Work, or some kind of fairy. We got some crossover problems here, folks, with reality. And we're going to have to find out what they're going to do next week. How are they going to deal with this situation? And so we're going to leave it at that. And we'll be back. Not this week. We'll be back Thursday night. All right. Agatha's in her tower. It's being shaken on the outside by the muck monster. And she's trying to figure out what could have gone wrong. I mean, she came up with this plan to get rid of the wizard pile. Hopefully at the same time destroy the Well of Work that seemed to be unfairly controlling the lives of the fairies. But something about the wizard pile splashing down into the powerful magic of the Well of Work, and then the power trying to escape and then being reflected back down by the mirror of reflection, caused some sort of rift in the time-space continuum, as Doc Brown would say, which I should have said in my introduction. But it's too late now, man. Whatever, I'm rifting the time-space continuum right now. And back to the story. So Agatha's standing there like, oh dear, and the only thing she can think of is that she needs to get down underground and figure out what the hell's going on. She needs to get to the bottom of this well, but the well itself is kind of imploded. To back up 2 seconds, when she had left Fairyland, she what do you call it? She lifted a wand for herself, and she'd strapped it on the inside of her thigh in case a wizard pile searched her, and if her life was really in danger, she was going to go to this fairy wand. So she busts out the fairy wand, taps herself on the head, turns herself into a worm, like a powerful worm. At this point, not a giant worm, just a powerful, not an earthworm, some other, a heavily, I don't know my worms, okay? Just a hell of a worm. And this worm dives down. And as she tunnels, she's getting bigger. And she's tunneling into the earth. Running right down this well. Tunneling. Boom, boom. She gets through the heliosphere, or the Earth's crust. She runs from the Earth's crust, and she hits some straight-up mantle. And she's down in the Earth's mantle. She realizes, that she doesn't, this is ancient times, so she doesn't have one of those watches when you go underwater where it could tell you which way's up. So she's disoriented. I mean, she's in this Earth's mantle, temperature's picking up. Luckily, because she's become this massive worm, like a worm you might see in a movie like Dune, or a story like Dune, or, similar worm in Beetlejuice. So that type of worm. Badass. Maybe even Tremors, I think we had a kick-ass worm. Man, they don't make an aside, but what happened to the worm movies? Was that all in the 80s that the worm movies had their heyday? Well, I guess they weren't worm. Tremors was a worm movie. Well, maybe it wasn't. How about that cast? Kevin Bacon and Fred. Oh, good God, Fred, forgive me. One of the great actors. He played Remo Williams. Well, I'm going to have to cut that out because that's embarrassing. So she's this giant worm, and she's tunneling down, and now she's lost. So she pauses. She doesn't have to worry about pressure because she's got her giant worm. That she's got 10 hearts and different sorts of valves and pressure systems and thick-ass skin. So she's down there. She finally gets down to a level where there's some, what they refer to as mole men. Part human, part mole. These are like kind of squat humanoids, I think they're called, and the this is a polite term for them. Humanoids. They're kind of like creepy looking. Not Gollum. These guys look more healthy than Gollum because they're in the mantle. I think Gollum was just in the what do you call it? The crust. So these are mantle moles, is what I call them when I hang. You know, I roll down there every once in a while. But anyway, that's an aside thing. They're different nowadays. That's what okay, yeah. Whew, back up. You know, I'm not on the influence anything either here. So she goes down these mantle moles. She sees them, and she's trying to just nod at them, and they're like, "What?" And luckily, mantle moles and worms, they have a hands-off, you know, laissez-faire type relationship. So the mole people, they're not using the worms for anything, and the worms aren't eating the mole people. So finally, she finds out. You know, she finds a little meeting room that the moles have, and she changes back to human, back to Agatha. She's like, "Oh, you know, I'm trying to find the bottom of this well, the well of work," and the moles are kind of like, "What? And looking at her like, "Lady, what are you talking about?" And you know, if there were subtitles, they'd be making fun of the way she looks, that she's kind of mean looking and scary. So they're just like discussing, and you know, they talk in those tones because they're deep down. They need to like penetrate rock. So most of their stuff is below, you know, human tonal scale. So she tries to mime out a well and power and everything, and the moles just nod. So she's like, "Darn it!" So she just goes again, and instead of going down, she looks up and she can see what she thinks is down, and she's going to go perpendicular. Yeah, I guess it's perpendicular. I don't know. She starts going vertical. Now, meanwhile, up on the surface, I know you're asking, like, dude, it's great. I love hearing about the Earth's crust and the mantle. And tell me when we get to the core and the liquid core, or we have a solid iron core. Again, let's save those for the scientists. But yeah, I know you guys are waiting with bated breath to hear about the next, you know, stage of the mesosphere or whatever. But yeah, there's stuff going on the surface. Now, all these monsters are running around, and Cinderella and Penelope and Roland are kind of just watching. And I mean, this is just the same time Agatha's diving, so they're just trying to figure out what to do next. Their castle's getting attacked by giant rabbits with their big teeth, and they're eating the rocks trying to get into the castle. And then they hear a pounding at the door. Their door, boom, 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 boom. And you hear the king. He's like, "Lord Larry of Ladybird, open up. I demand your counsel." And the king, you know, they open the door, and the king, you know, this king, the Lord King, he's totally changed his tune now. He's like, "Lord Larry of Ladybird, you came at the perfect moment, for our kingdom is in crisis. I don't know if it was the wizard Pyle or the witch Agatha, former Mistress Agatha, but everything's going awry. There's fairies and monsters and people. We need your soldiers, Lord Larry. We need your help." And Roland's caught a little bit off guard. He's not expecting to bring his A game. He said, "Okay, well, yeah." And Penelope was, Larry the Ladybug. Oh, yes, so what's the problem again?" "Well, I don't know, the earth, everything's cracking and the air's got holes in it and fairies are coming through the holes, and the bigger holes, monsters are coming through and fairies are running back and they're eating people, and there's lava and giant scorpions and all sorts of crap. It's terrible, Lord Larry. You and your soldiers need to save us, please." "Oh, okay, So, yeah, monsters, you say? Okay, well, we in Ladybird don't have monsters, so, this reminds me of, the time, I think it was, Lord Larry in the case of the Druid Circle. Oh, but those are mole men. Lord Larry, please, I will give you turn over kingship as soon as this crisis is over. I just need your counsel as a wise man, and we need to work together to preserve everything. Please, Lord Larry, please your help. I call on you for protection. Please. And could you call back to later so I can get some more swords? So please. The king throws himself at Roland's feet, and Cinderella's just tapping her foot, shaking her head. She's like, disgusting. You disgust me. You're supposed to be king. Your people are out there getting eaten by basilisks and hoodoos, schnozwagglers, I don't even, Laplanders are out there even. And you're just sitting here crying. You know what? You just stay in here and with Lord Larry, and maybe he'll protect you. And Penelope, let's go. We need to save some lives. So Cinderella and Penelope roll out of the guest castle, and Roland draws, "Do not without me. I will protect you, Cinderella, from any Laplanders." What's a Laplander, Cinderella? And, you can stay here, Mr. King. So they roll out, the three of them. And Cinderella just takes stock. She's so composed. I mean, I guess if they had dictionaries, they don't have printing press, but if they did, and then they decided to print a dictionary, I don't know. There'd be a lot of complications at this point. But if I was printing a dictionary and then me and Doc Brown rolled back to drop it off, Cinderella would be next to composed in the dictionary there. So she's all composed. She's looking around Apocalypse Now, Robert Duvall's character, stuff's just exploding around her. She's looking she doesn't have the thrill of battle of him. She's so calm. But she's looking at things like, okay. She starts noting the cracks in the fabric of our existence. She actually reaches out and there's looks like a piece of broken glass about the size of your hand, and kind of the shape of your hand, but jagged. And right through that piece of glass, you'd normally be able to see, 10 feet in front of you, but in that little squarish area she can see straight through to fairyland. She sees fairies getting eaten by vermicious Canid. And yeah, they had vermicious Canids back then, kids. Sorry. And she just reaches out and grabs it, and she takes it. And it's almost like a piece of glass. Like, she can move it where she wants. She can stick it into another piece of the sky, and it stays. And she kind of looks through it. She sticks her finger through it. She looks at it. And then she points, Roland, go get me another one. And then he brings it over, and she puts the two together. They're obviously from two different spots in Fairyland, but they do kind of fuse together, but then they break apart. And she's like, And she says, she sees people running around, being chased by monsters. So, okay. Roland, we need to gather all the townspeople, all the fairies we can get a hold of Penelope, and we need to gather all these pieces of broken time-space fabric, whatever's going on here. Obviously, something went wrong with Pyle, and something horrible's going on, and I can't be sure of what's going on, but the three of us, need to stay calm. We need to collect all these things and figure it out and see if we can put this thing back together. You guys remember that case of Humpty Dumpty, right? It's going to be just like that. Humpty Dumpty in the case of the broken egg man. That was Lord Larry the Ladybug. He didn't fix him. But he held the wall maker accountable, I believe. But anyway, okay, so we'll gather him. And let me think here. Penelope, do you have your wand? Yes, Cinderella. Penelope, I need you. You need me to go to battle, don't you, Cinderella? And I have been waiting for this moment. Ever since I laid eyes on you, Cinderella, I've wanted to protect you, but I haven't had that choice. I've tried in some ways. But now, with all this hell that's breaking loose, I feel my need to do what needs to be done replaced by doing what I feel I want to do, which is protect you. So I'm going to take this wand, and I'm going to take that Lapland, shoots lightning out this Laplander, and it knocks the giant, it's got this, what are those sharks, those fish called with the giant teeth thing, and it's chopping people's heads off, but she fries that thing like a fried fish, because it looks like one of those fish, like I said. You know, the one with the thing on the front of it, with the spikes. So she fries that thing, and then she's, "Hey, you fairies, you, come with me." And they start chasing down monsters, and they can't kill them, but they're shooting them with stuff and trying to disable their weaponry, which is kind of tough if it's a natural creature. But like, for example, real quick, they just froze the mud monster, and he's frozen. So, okay. Meanwhile, Cinderella's running around, "People, people, please come with me, please, please. Everyone, follow me. Oh, it's the queen, the queen. Queen, I will protect you." And then, so Cinderella's got these people. She's sending them out, and everyone's, listening to her. She's like, "Please, everyone, lend a hand for the fairies will protect us, and we must gather these pieces of glass, these strange mirrors into another land, bringing them to me." So people are running all over, grabbing these mosaic pieces. So Cinderella's got everybody gathering up the pieces of the mosaic, and Penelope's trying to explain to all the other fairies that are on both sides. She's calling through the little holes, "You're free to use your magic as you wish." So the fairies are busting out their magic. Penelope's like the William Wallace meets the gladiator. If they had a man-child together, and she was a woman, a petite older woman. Actually, not petite. If she was a charming grandmotherly older woman, but still a badass. So she's, directing these different groups of fairies that are now fighting each monster, and she's like, they can't seem to destroy them. She's like, "We need to corral the monsters, keep them away from the people." So at this point, it's kind of like cow prods, because they're using like acid out of their wands or electricity and shoot, trying to corner all the different monsters and gather them up until someone can come up with a plan. And they're gathering the monsters, and some are getting, losing their poor fairy lives. They've just gotten free will, as far as I can tell, and they're choosing. So they're really heroes. I mean, this is save it for a speech, right? You're telling me, when I attend the big fairy funeral. But, that's what they're going to be saying. So I'm just saying, I said it first here. When you're at the fairy memorial for the fairies lost in this story, and they're going to be plagiarizing off me. Anyway, let's, the personal issues aside, they're doing battle. They're saving human lives, they're saving fairy lives, and they're gathering these up. Meanwhile, deep in the mantle of the earth, and if I was lazy, I'd look it up on the internet and tell you, "Oh, she's through to the next level." But basically, things aren't going well for Agatha. I'm not going to lie to you, and if you want to know how it feels, like she keeps she can't even tell if she's backtracking, or once you're into this like middle of the earth, she tries to go where it's hot, and then she takes a wrong turn. If you want to recreate what's going on, and I do suggest this, I used to do this all the time as a kid, and of course the doctor asked me why. The doctor in the wood-paneled room. But what you want to do is get yourself a sleeping bag. All right, make sure no one's home that's going to report you that you're nuts. And you're going to put the sleeping bag over your head so that your head is where your feet are. And, okay, I'm not legally liable for anything that happens from this point on, but you're going to pretend you're a giant worm, and you're going to get inside the sleeping bag. Your head's going to be at the top. Not, come on, use some common sense. Don't suffocate. And don't smash your head open. You're going to go slow. Don't go in the kitchen where the knives can fall on you. But you're going to pretend you're a giant worm. I guarantee you. I mean, I guess I haven't done it since I was a kid. But I used to get lost in my own house. My house wasn't that big. And and it was just like a really good feeling of being totally disoriented in my own house and everything being unfamiliar. And that's how it kind of feels. I mean, the core of the earth is not Agatha's home. So you got me. But a little experiment if you want to try that. So Agatha's just cruising around the earth. She talks to the dudes from the H.G. Wells book. They're kind of like these more alien looking in my mind. H.G. Wells or Jules Verne. Don't get on my case, bros, because I'm not. Sorry. But they're kind of like more like E.T. when he was sick looking, like uncomfortably, like somewhere their skin tone is between sick E.T. and Gollum, but they look more like E.T., kind of insect-like, alien-like. And those guys kind of like, they give her a better idea, and they kind of are making some signs like to look for somebody, another kind of humanoid, but they're indicating he has some sort of facial hair. So she's still looking, and she's getting frustrated, and she's sweating. I mean, you wouldn't know worms sweat, but when a mammal's inside a worm, they sweat. So that's what's going on inside the Earth's mantle. I mean, we're probably beyond the mantle, and maybe I'll put it in the show notes. Another quick aside. I used to read this book when I was little. I don't know why I'm all over the place tonight, folks, but I'm trying to help you sleep. I used to read this book when I was little, and I will try to put that in show notes, but it was about a boy who started digging, because when somebody was like, oh, if you dig a hole deep enough, you come out the other side. And so he starts digging with a shovel, and the book details like the different things this boy used, the different inventions as he got deeper and deeper into the earth, until I think he finally got to the Earth's core. I don't know. And then he was captured by some sort of E.T. alien, and now he's evil. But let's just move on. So she's looking around the earth, back up on the earth. Cinderella's there. People are bringing her these mosaic pieces. They're throwing them everywhere. She's like on an episode of a reality show. She's just like, each hand. I wish you could see my hands. Both my hands are moving. She's grabbing pieces, trying to put them. It's like a jigsaw puzzle of the fairy universe. She's slapping it. She's faster. I need something with green. People are bringing her greens. I need something with something between a magenta and a purple. Hooray! People are running. And she's like, you with the, knobby knees. I need you to put that cloud over there. And people are working. I mean, it's like the whole town's working together. And meanwhile, Penelope, she's got a whole perimeter around all the monsters, about 14 monsters. And she's communicated to Fairyland, so they have all their monsters. And they're keeping them, but fairies are running out. The monsters, they seem to have some magical energy. And the fairies, they're human-like, so they're used to working. I mean, from what we know, fairies, it sounded like they work from probably 10 to 4. They don't even work a full day. Now, I don't know if they get a lunch break or whatever, but that seemed like Penelope's schedule at least. Sorry, I'm moving my... like, she would get up, hang out in her garden from 8 to 10, go to work, come back, hang out in her garden, go to bed, get up. But they didn't have free will, at least as far as we can tell. But so, yeah, they got the monsters cornered. Soon, Cinderella's going, and like a fever builds. Like, everyone's lending a hand. The rich, the poor, the people with no arms that are using their elbows, the people with no intelligence, they're standing back and, like, waiting, and they're just moving, like, the pieces that are only one color. Roland, he's just watching Cinderella. She's doing everything, kind of like in the Minority Report. She's moving, her fingers are so fast. Like, if her and Tom Cruise had like an eye poking out contest, she would have poked his eyes out way faster. She's moving all these things, and slowly everything starts to come together, and it's like this organic arch into fairyland. And meanwhile, the fairies have been fighting the monsters. The monsters have gotten them backed up towards the people, everybody working on the mosaic, and Cinderella's still in the zone, just finishing up these last pieces. And Roland draws, so he's like, what are you doing? You can't bring these monsters here. What are you doing? Like, we can't. This is our only choice. They're backing us up. And they've got just enough power. And then Cinderella sees, and the fairies on the other side are starting to lose their battle against the monsters. Cinderella's putting the last piece. She's like, when I call you, you have to run to me, fairies. You have to run away, push the monsters away, and then run. She's like, Penelope, get the monsters in there, and then run back to me. And so, the fairies inside of Fairyland, they kind of wrangle the monsters, and Penelope and Roland get the rest of the monsters, about 16 of them. They get them through the arch to Fairyland. Just as Cinderella finishes, it goes boom. But she's got her hand on one piece. She's holding it in place and just shaking. Like her body starts pulsing. She's holding on, but it creates an arch, and the monsters pass through it. The fairies run back, and the fairies that were in Fairyland run away right as the monsters are snapping, and then they get through. Last person gets through, and the monsters are coming right behind them, right at the. And Cinderella pulls the one piece she's been holding on to, and her hand is like sizzling, kind of like the dude in Indy, but this thing is like, it's part of her hand now. Like her hand is fused with this strange piece of the universe, and it's just like one of those stones, like it's iridescent, a stone, and it's different scenes are passing over it, and it's whom, whom, whom. Rose's like, Cinderella, my princess, my queen, what has happened to your hand? She's like, it was fine, Roland. Whew. Penelope's like, how did you know that would work? And she's like, I had to trust it would work. She's like, I had to save my people, and I had to save your people, and I had to use my gut. They told me that it would work. For a second, everyone was like, oh, Cinderella, you saved us. And the monsters start banging up against the portal, but it's just like a piece of glass, so they're just smashing their heads and smashing. And slowly, as it goes on, the portal starts to gray out a little bit and become more and more gray. And finally, one of the fairies is like, okay, well, when will we be able to go back to our homes? Back to Fairyland. Cinderella looks at her hand, and she looks at the portal. She's like, never. Never, I don't think ever. She's like, I don't know when we would have the power to defeat those monsters, and left to their own devices, who knows what kind of monstrous monsters they can create. And we can't unlock the door, and I'm not sure I have not possessed the power anymore. She's like, so I'd like to offer you all a home here with my people. And you, the fairies, can join our community. And all of a sudden the guy's like, what? Wait. Did she say the fairies are going to live with us here? No, lady. Oh, no. You might be some queen on some, you can't have fairies living here with us. They're bad. They're in the dark arts. It's gonna make the gods angry, and no. And then oh no, not the fairies. Fairies eat toes. They are toe eaters. They eat children's toes. You cannot have fairies. No. Oh, my babies. And all of a sudden, people start, people start throwing stuff, and then the fairies aren't. Not all of them are passive. So a couple of fairy dudes are like, whoa, dude. I ain't eating no toes. You guys, you smell, man. I don't want to be. We want to go back to our gardens. Gardens suck. You fairy, we saw in there, it's just gardens and flowers and board games. What the heck? You fairies are dull. And Cinderella's like, so everyone, we need to work together. We can find a way to share our land, and we're united against a foe, and we defeated him. Oh, no. Where's the king? What about that Lord Larry? Oh, that was just to pretend. I was just pretending. You guys remember Larry the Ladybug? Remember Larry the Ladybug lawyer? I was pretending to be him, but a king, to fool the king. And then all of a sudden you hear silence, and the king steps up. The king, Cinderella's husband, estranged husband, we'll say. So you were a false king. So I am the only heir to this throne, the only one that can rightfully wear this crown on his head as I do now. And Cinderella, you went against the wishes of both people. You say you used your judgment, but it seems your selflessness was selfish. For now everyone is unhappy. This king's a jerk too. Well, what are you? If only we had a system where you guys could elect someone to rule you, but we don't. So, as rightful heir to the throne, I say, I will be king, and I will rule over fairies and humans alike with a hand of strong, cruel justice. And then everyone said, what? You don't really have an army anymore. But, let the people decide. Would you rather live with these fairies as equals or have them service? How about that, huh? Everybody. And people are kind of confused, and they're still throwing stuff. They're like, I say, and they start getting unruly, and everybody starts getting, well, let's take them both and lock them up, and we'll decide,
Well, Barnum, so they grabbed some of them grabbed Cinderella, some of them grabbed the king, some of them grabbed Roland, and people, there's more people than fairies, probably like a 6-to-1 ratio. So people start pushing the fairies around. Fairies start shocking people. And all of a sudden, Earth starts shaking. The Earth's shaking. All of a sudden, water starts to shoot up. Water shoots up from the Earth. And shoots like 40 feet in the sky, like some wellspring out of the Earth. Not that far from where everyone's standing. Everyone goes back, and it becomes this giant hole. And then everyone gathers around it, and the water's just flying up, skirling down. And all of a sudden, the water takes a form, gets arms, gets a chest, gets a head. It starts to get a beard, a gray beard. And then it's like, humans and fairies. It is I, formerly the wizard Pile. And now I am the master of the well. And he throws like a water wave, and it knocks everybody down. I will rule you all. I have all the power. And so Cinderella goes to say something. He just sprays a little water spout in her mouth. She coughs. And anytime anybody stands up, he just knocks him down. He says, so you all will serve me. Shoots more water in the sky, starts running. He's, and he brings a storm. Goes, He's just, he's doing that. And that's where we're going to stop tonight, folks. Things were going good. But then the Wizard Pile showed up. Well, actually, things weren't going good. Before the Wizard Pile showed up, we had a riot on our hands. I don't know why humans and fairies can't. I think, they'll probably learn to get along. I mean, it seems like the fairies are humans. Maybe. Maybe not. I mean, they're much more pleasant and plump, some of them. Pleasantly plump, as Fairy Godmother is. So let's see, if they could get along and live together, maybe Pyle could live with them too. Maybe not, though. Probably not. Because Pyle seems pretty bad. All right, we'll see you Sunday night, folks, for another edition of After the Glass Slipper. Thanks so much for listening. Deep below the earth, we had left Agatha in giant worm form. And she was working with some pale E.T. aliens. Well, but they're not alien. Well, I don't want to say they're not aliens. They're creatures living somewhere inside of Earth. Which, once we get the proof of this stuff, I guess this isn't our Earth. Or is it? Anyway, I'm distracted. Like, she's dealing with these creatures that look a bit like E.T., insectoid humanoid combo with terribly pale skin. So Agatha was working with these E.T. types. They were telling her about this giant pool of water that was coming from something strange, and they couldn't quite describe to her what the source of the water was, but they said the water was not normal water. It came in different colors and changed and seemed to move of its own accord. They were pointing in all sorts of directions, and that was shooting up all these different holes, and that it would make noises like "Where you are, wine going, the baby," kind of cryptic noises to them. But Agatha was like, okay, this is suspicious, and then she kind of set a baseline. I don't know if that's a proper use of that vocabulary word, but she was like, is any other water around here and down here behave similarly? No, there's no other water down here that behaves like that's the only one. We try to stay away from it. And so Agatha was thinking to herself, and she, Agatha, this is not a hard equation. Now, Agatha's not on the surface, so she doesn't know that Pyle and the well of work have seemed to fuse into one creature. But she's thinking, all right, I think I've tracked down the well of work, and I'm going to wipe this thing out. And if Pyle happens to be working nearby it, or down there,
or associated in any manner. He's going to be collateral damage. She's pretty, she's somewhere in the mantle. One of the lower mantle, upper mantle. I don't know. I don't got a map, all right? But she's down there. And she's like, oh, well, I'm going to go hit a vein of lava or, weaken some lava. Head it over the water and, turn the water into steam or, she figures she'll get some lava or she'll drain the water to the lava. She's not too worried about it. So she gets pretty good direction. She starts heading that way. And one thing you should know about the difference between giant worms, sandworms, and tunneling worms like these are that they're kind of a lot different than earthworms in the fact that earthworms need moisture to survive, at least in my very elementary knowledge of them, is that they're kind of mucousy, slimy, and that's how they like it. And sometimes, they get washed up in a rainstorm, and you gotta help them out and get them in some, unless you're a serial killer, come on, help, or you're like some, I don't know, whatever philosophy, what are you, Adam Smith or something? You're gonna just let them do, I don't even know, you're the invisible hand, and I'm talking nonsense, clearly, just like last week, but, those kind of worms, earthworms, near earthworms, let's just call them crust worms. Or earthworms, I guess. Why not? They need like a mucus, watery type environment. That's what they thrive in. But these deeper worms, like Agatha's turned into, they're different. They like it dry because they got to be tunneling through the earth. They're kind of doing a little corkscrew, and they don't really need, like with their skin, their exterior skin's dry. Just a note. So she's tunneling, trying to find this water source. She's listening for it. She got a little bit of a worm sense now, so she's following her worm sense. She's trucking along at a good pace through this dirt and rock. She's got these powerful high-speed jaws that as she tunnels, they're like these teeth. I can't describe it to you, but she's tunneling through this rock. It doesn't stand a chance. One of Mother Nature's miracles that it's Mother Nature in this, well, whatever. She's tunneling trucking through this rock. And she's starting to get angry. She's like, I'm going to mess this wizard pile up in this work. She's like, who does this work think it is, What a jerky well to be bossing around the fairies universe and just making them do stuff. And she's still suspicious that someone's behind it, some shady type character, and she wants to literally get to the bottom of it. Now, suddenly she knows she's slowing down a little bit. Like she was moving smooth, and she's like, "Oh, well, there's more moisture here," So she's getting a little muddy. The mud's accumulating on her. Okay, I'm getting close to the well, wherever this water's pooled. So she's like, all right, let me make a beeline for some hot lava or something. I must be close to this water. So she starts digging a little bit away from where she thinks it's wet. And it gets wetter. She notices that it's really struggling because the mud's caking on her. The rocks are caking to her. She's not a slimy worm. She's just supposed to be a dry worm, Agatha. So she's going slow, and then she notices the water is almost like beating on her. Like beads, B-E-A-D-S, not beat. Now she's really slow, and she almost feels like the water's like grabbing into the rocks and the mud and the dirt. And then she hears something in her little worm ears. Agatha, it's I, Wizard Pyle. She would go to turn her head, but since she's a worm and she's underground, you can't turn your head. You need to tunnel that. Like, what is that? This must be my imagination. She tries to redouble her efforts to move. She's not going anywhere. Then she notices the water. It seems like it's in her. It's everywhere. Agatha, we have you. Agatha. She noticed the water starting to pool below her, or along her worm belly. And she's still trying to move. She can't. Well, it's the wizard pile. You gave me my power, you fool. Ah. And she notices like she's starting to sink in mud. And she says she remembers like when she was growing up about quicksand and people contradicting themselves as people tend to do about quicksand. Some people are saying don't move. Other people are saying just float. Other people are saying swim. Other people call for help. Some people are like, you better have sunscreen because you can be fine, but you could get sunburned, and that could be what does you in. And then she's sinking more and more, and the next thing she knows, she's falling. She's spinning, and then boom, she hits something, and she goes out cold. And as she sleeps, she dreams the dreams of worms, of sandworms, and going deep into the desert for spice, snacking on sweet, sweet spice. And a blue-eyed devil named Kyle MacLachlan riding one of her ancestors. And then the joy of being tormenting lost souls in the someplace between purgatory and heaven and hell. Those times, and then when she had it out for ranchers out in the country, and she ate a few of them. Just other worm dreams. Like you dream of being an earthworm. And of course she has the nightmare, just like we went over, of like every earthworm that you caught on the sidewalk after a summer rainstorm. And either no one helps you, you get stepped on, worst case scenario, bike runs over the middle of you while you're drying out, and something smooshed the middle of you, and you're dried and it's stuck to the sidewalk, and then you slowly, I don't want to get into that, it's a terrible nightmare. And then she dreams she's at a earthworm comedy club, and she's trying to think of jokes, but it's a dream, so she's making a lot of jokes about turtlenecks. And, what's up with you guys with your turtlenecks and striped shirts? You got no necks. I don't know. Some jokes that are funny, though. What do you call a worm without a turtleneck? I don't know. What do you? Yeah. You're asking yourself the same question, right? I'm waiting for the punchline. It's not coming. So then she starts to be like, man, am I dreaming? Because this is one lame dream. She comes to and she realizes that she's still in worm form. She kind of moves around. I'm in some kind of sand. And she's like, maybe I should turn myself back into a human. She had the wand in one of her teeth that's not involved in the drilling, but that's involved in combing the nutrients that these worms eat off of the rock that keep them alive. Similar to a whale's, what do you call that thing? Baleen or whatever the frick it is. Basically the colander in the whale's mouth that catches, stuff, and the whale eats it. The different plankton and zooplankton, phytoplankton. See, I know more than one plankton. Ectoplankton. God bless you. Harold Ramis, goodbye. That's for you, ectoplankton. I'm sorry, that's probably depressing you if you heard it. So I'll probably just cut that out. Ectoplankton. But yeah, so, whales eat, so she has these teeth that kind of comb, these little tiny cilia-like teeth, because I like to use cilia in this podcast, that comb the different nutrients off the rocks. So she had her wand in there, but now it's gone. So she's like, okay, I'm stuck in the worm. So she's kind of enjoying the sand is nice and soft. So she's stretching and itching different itches, and she knows she's dried off, so she doesn't have to worry about that weird. She's like, was that a dream with the, about Pyle the wizard and the water was taunting me? Or is that real? She's like, oh well, I gotta figure out where the heck I am. So she starts to kind of probe around, and then she's like, okay. She's kind of getting a sense of this worm sense, which, again, it's probably some kind of chambers in her body with like a certain liquid that's a certain density and air bubbles and, synapses probably surrounding it, ganglias, throwing a couple mitochondria, I don't know. But no, probably some kind of air bubble, that tells her like what's up, what's down, where's there higher barometric pressure if there's barometric pressure under the earth. I don't know these answers. But she's using that sense. And also a little bit of, worm magic. She's like, okay, I think I sense, some moisture this way, probably the evil moisture. So she's like, gets ready, stretches one more time, shakes her tail all the way down to the end. Looks kind of, cute. And then boom, she goes to truck off. Right as she gives a heave-ho, she gets pulled back. She said, what the heck? Then she realizes she's got straps attached to her big, because they have these teeth tusks that she uses to drill. And there's like, well, best I can tell you is like harnesses. It's like she's a dog or something. Giant dog. She's harnessed in. It becomes clear to her she's been captured. She tries to break free of her chains. Can't do it. So she tries to test out. And she can, move around pretty good in this like sand pit she's in. And she starts to probe and realizes it's pretty hard rock around her. And the only way to escape would be to rip her drilling teeth out, her drilling tusks. And then she wouldn't be able to get through this rock, probably bleed to death. So whoever's got her, Pyle, she's not sure. So she settles down and she's trying to listen, and she starts to hear a lot of noise. She notices some emotion stirring at one of the noises. It's very low noise for humans. It just doesn't sound much like... But she's like, man, that noise is like, it's giving her chills. She feels like crying, or the worm version of crying, since she's pretty much moisture free. But she's like, she gets a sense of like best guess, because Agatha was not full of compassion or empathy. But she's like, I bet you there's some other worms suffering down here. And then she starts to like try to make this, and she taps her head on the side of some of the rock, and some of the crying stops, and she feels a creature tapping. So she's like, this has got to be some kind of worm capture area. And then she senses someone's watching her, and she looks and she sees and you gotta be asking yourself, how do worms see, especially in this situation? Because she's deep in sand, and you're gonna tell us now she's seeing clearly, right? Right, because she sees with some sort of sonic vision. So, blame it if you want to blame it on modern Daredevil comic book. I think that dude. I never read it, but I'm pretty sure he was getting behind sonic vision. This is made by Mother Nature, so it's much more powerful. She can see everything, 3 dimensions, color in a different way than us. So quit asking your questions. They're good, intelligent questions. Congratulations. But that's how she sees sonically. Or whatever, sonarily, whatever, I don't know. But anyhow, so she sees this dude coming at her, and he's looks like a seahorse, it's a humanoid seahorse. So she sees him, and he comes and he taps her on her face, her worm hole, where her different
her triangle of worm mouths come together. Ah, you're a feisty one, you are. Yeah, you'll make a good one for the arena. She's like, what do we got here? Like some sort of worm gladiator situation. He's going to make me into a worm gladiator. Ah, he goes, I sense you can hear me. It was Balak Waka. And she says, what the fuck does Balak Waka mean? And he goes, oh, you are not one of the ancients. You must be a young one. You're large for something so young. Ah, I think I've found this special one. You would do just fine. You will wait, we will introduce you soon in the arena. Today. And he swims off. I mean, in swims I'm using, he swims in sand. He's a sand horse, not a seahorse. If you want to get technical, he's not even a sand horse. He's like a sand horse man. So he swims off, the sand horse man. And she's thinking, great, I'm in some sort of gladiator, probably, situation. I'm going to have to kill some other worms and figure out a way to make a break for it. And then she goes, like, okay, I'm going to rest. So she starts to rest, and she kind of drifts off into sleep. And next thing she knows, she feels something tugging. She feels herself being dragged by her things to this, like somewhere. And then, boom, she breaks through the surface, and she's surrounded in this arena with tens of thousands of maybe not tens of thousands. Let's say thousands of sandhorse people, kids, mostly, like a lot of kids, a lot of families. And sandhorse people seem to be a little bit bigger than nuclear families. So you're looking at like 2 sandhorse parents with like 8 to 12 sand kids. And they're everywhere. They're cheering, and she breaks through the surface. And then she sees the dude from below, and he's got a microphone he's standing on, like in front of all the people, right at the side of the amphitheater. And she's kind of in like a sand pool, and they're all out of the sand, sitting in an open air, like looking down at sand pool. And this is translation, but he said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special opportunity here at Sand World to introduce you to the newest member of our flock, Yankee the Sandworm. Everybody starts cheering, and Agatha's just kind of looking, like waiting. Am I gonna fight? They're gonna have sandworms fight in front of all these little kids. The kids have like pennants and sand corn, popped sand corn, and sand cream, iced sand cream. The whole 9 yards. Merchandise. Property of Sand World Enterprises, LLC. So they're all cheering. And he's like, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the newest member of our. We just wanted to say hi, but we're going to teach her some new tricks, and we're going to have a whole new show next season here at Sand World. So everybody say hello. Say one more big hello and welcome to Yankee. And everybody cheers again. All of a sudden there's like a boom. And like one of the walls explodes. And then these other sand people come flying through there. And then one guy jumps down, knocks the mic out of the guy's hand who was speaking. And this guy's like, he's got like a black type ninja suit on with a headband and sunglasses, and the other people, they look like a militia. They grab it like, we're setting this sandworm free. And there's a couple of people that came in with them, they slash Agatha's bounds. And they're like, what? This place steals sandworms from our sand families. Look at you, Sam. What kind of sandhorse men and women are you? You raise your children, you keep them close, you keep them safe, and we just want the same for the sandworms. We will have justice. Sandworm justice. Now, most of the people are just staring at this dude because
They paid about the equivalent of 78 US bucks just to get into Sand World. And I didn't even tell you about the rides, but they suck. It's just mostly shows. All of a sudden their show's getting busted out. They're getting judged. But the guy's got a point, man. Agatha doesn't know the plight of the sandworm, but it's not pleasant. I mean, you've seen Dune, Tremors, Beetlejuice. Sandworms have never been treated fairly in our culture, so just think about a culture that has them down deep, especially like a seahorse type. You know about seahorses, man. They're jerks. So sand horses mixed with humans, whew, Judgment City, man. And yeah, they're going to try to dominate everybody. So these sandworm, it's like, Sandworm Liberation Army. I mean, it's not, because that's just too obvious, but they got some cool name. Like, they're like, Yankee, let's get you the frick out of here. And then they blow a hole in the bottom of the pool. And Agatha drains out. Whoosh, she's free. Ish. On the surface. Everybody's trapped. Cinderella, Penelope, Roland, all the people from Fairyland, all the fairy people, and all the human people. They're all trapped. Now, Pyle, that's Water God, has them all penned in on these little islands surrounded by streams of rushing water. So they're all on their little squares of land. On either side, on all four sides of the square, there's rushing water. So just imagine yourself standing on the ground, and then a square is carved out around you, surrounded by a trough of high-speed water. So if you fell in, you'd be rushed somewhere. Apparently this water rushes to some jagged rocks where you'd be smashed, and this water's rushing like the cement troughs you always hear about, drainage basins as a kid that you shouldn't play in for a flash flood to, the kid that, and it probably really happened, so if it happened, I'm sorry, but where, you're playing and then there's a flash flood and you get swept to your doom. So there's no escaping, and everybody's got their own little square. Cinderella, Roland, and Penelope are all in the middle, and the most dangerous. It's just far enough between squares you really couldn't jump. Why would you risk it? You'd just still be trapped anyway. So they're trapped. So Cinderella's just sitting there thinking she's going to make a deal. She's just waiting, stealing her nerves for Pyle. Now, meanwhile, not that far away on a hill, overlooking our fair city. You remember that hill from the cheese smell story, because it overlooks the town. Up on that hill in a grove of trees is Agatha and her merry band of sand rebels, or thieves. I was thinking of Robin Hood and his band of thieves. Are they his merry band of thieves or his band of merry thieves? But it doesn't matter. Agatha and the sand horse rebels are up there. But she's spotting and she's thinking, she's crafting. And she says, she calls over Chatty Bong Bong. She says, what's the distance on these lava staff guns you seem to have? He goes, oh, there's good distance on them. She goes, okay. She goes, here's what I want you to do, is I want you to wait for my signal. And she goes, okay. Thinking frozen. And then she goes, frozen. Okay. Got it? I got it. We got it, Yankee. So, okay. Agatha pulls out her wand, taps her forehead, turns into a giant worm, and dives. She dives down deep. She lets out this worm call. At some point in between when the story last left off and when we got here, which is about, in story time even, it took him a few hours to, gather everybody, get some rest. Before you go into battle, you want to get some rest and eat to make sure. So they rest and eat, and she learned a couple of worm
words. So she's diving and she's like, ooh, 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 ooh. And then she dives down deep, and then she starts to get a gathering of worms going. She started giant worms, and they start gathering around her down deep in the lower Earth crust. We're not in the mantle territory. We've got worms coming from the upper mantle. She starts to talk to, and she's even getting hold of like regular, like higher intelligence level crust worms, which we don't in our world to have a lot of interaction with near mammalian worms, but in this world, let's not get into it. I'm not a zoologist, so I don't even know their phyla. So she's like talking to all worms. Yeah, whoa, 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 and whoa, 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 whoa. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. Wah. So that's the plan that she explains to him. And she goes, ready, break. All the worms split up. Meanwhile, up on the surface, everybody's just sitting around. And to be honest, they don't have, I don't even know what they did back then about sunscreen. I mean, I guess that's why the princesses wore those hats with all the scarves and stuff hanging off it, because otherwise you get pretty sunburned, especially if you're sitting on a piece of just a square of land surrounded by rushing water. And I don't know, what evil wizard's tolerance for sunburn captives are. Now, luckily, back then I guess they had more ozone or something, so sunburn's not that big. There's a little bit of cloud cover, let's say. So meanwhile, everybody's sitting around, and then it's weird, like, the humidity starts to pick up a little bit. The temperature starts to rise a little more. It starts to get misty. Everybody's like, it's like you're standing too close to a humidifier. And then they notice, like, it starts to get real misty, almost like foggy, like a steamy, hot fog. Soon everyone's enveloped in this foggy mist, and you can't really see more than like a foot in front of your face. And Penelope, what evil magic is this, Pyle? What are your plans for us? And everybody starts, people are nervous. When you can't see things, you get scared. Roland draws his sword, but if he goes to draw a sword, he realizes they don't have it. Pyle, you leave Cinderella. Cinderella, are you all right? And Penelope's like, Cinderella, if you don't let him take your Cinderella, let us know you're safe. I'm safe. And Pyle, I won't have it. I won't have this, Pyle. Come face us and let us know what you want. Goodbye, Pyle. And all of a sudden, Cinderella's, oh no. And he goes silent. And then Roland's like, Cinderella. And he's looking around. I mean, Roland's ready to leap. And then Penelope's like, no, Pyle, I'll have my vengeance on you. And people are crying and screaming and panicking. And then Penelope's voice cuts out. And then Roland's voice cuts out. Slowly, silence penetrates the mist. And I don't know if silence can penetrate it, but it becomes pervasive. And it's just a silent mist floating. And then, finally, like, Pyle must have got wind of this. And the mist starts to break. Now, I don't know what Pyle was off doing, but he sucks in the mist into the water and then rises out of the water, the rushing water. And he looks around and everyone's gone. And there's little holes where everyone's gone. No! No! And he, like, goes to, like, shake his fist in fury with their water. And he's, like, flame, and he sees the holes. And he points his arms down there. Water rushes into all the holes. What Pyle doesn't know is if you're going to fill up holes with water, you don't want to do it in anger. So his first effort kind of clogs the holes. So it takes him a little bit to start to fill the holes in the old Caddyshack water in the hole to get the groundhog way. But eventually he does. Meanwhile, Agatha came up with a plan. And all the people are riding seahorses or holding on to sand horses, and they're being rushed to freedom. And they get to the cavern where they had last met, and they all see Agatha standing with these sandhorse rebels, and she's standing next to Chetty Bong Bong. Cinderella rushes and Roland and Penelope hug her. We thought you left us. We thought we were gone. She goes, no. So we have to hurry. I can hear the water coming. And they're like, Mrs. Agatha, Yankee, we have to hurry. Get these people to safety. And everyone's like, a lot of people are riding on these giant, a lot of people were riding on giant worms, which I didn't mention earlier, a second ago, but everyone's just waiting. Agatha's like, okay, we're going to rush over to that. We're going to go to the untouched palace, and we're going to keep everyone safe there. Is there room there? Like, yes, but, only the one that is meant to enter can. And she's like, we'll enter it no matter what. You talk to maybe this is what the prophecy is. I have to help Cinderella keep her people safe. I've sworn to help you. And Cinderella walks up and she sees that Chetty Bong Bong as the leader. She says, I want to thank you and offer my services for saving us. If what Agatha says is true and you need our help, we will offer it. And they look each other over. And you could tell, if this was a movie, animated or not, they share a moment, these two, Chetty Bong Bong and Cinderella. But it's only a moment. It's broken. It's broken by this thunderous sound of a lightning cannon. Then slowly a wall collapses in the giant chamber they're in. And these strange tanks come through. And the rebels are like, oh. And then another hole opens. And there come more tanks and straight up professional soldiers come through. Sandhorse soldiers. And ultra modern, these are cool ass tanks with these dual lightning guns. PA system on the tanks. We have you surrounded. Drop your weapons. We expect no fighting. Everyone's like, I don't see they're surrounded. They don't have us on two sides. I said, well, the pile's coming. She sees dripping water. She says, oh, great. This is just not what we need. I said, what? Chetty Bang Bang said, what do you want? We're helping these. We've been called by the surface worlders for help. General hops off the tank and walks up to Chet. He goes, Chetty Bang Bang. It's been a long time. Once we were best friends. But you did not drink of your mother's milk, you drank of warm milk. You did not understand the way of the well. Well, we are here to stop you and the surface worlders. For the water in the well spoke to us. Said you want to take away. That your plan is to fulfill that you plan on fulfilling the prophecy. Taking away what we want. Taking away the treats and the joys and the pleasures. Disrupting the way of the well. Chetty goes, my brother, you must know that the well of want has never been good for our people. You know it has never been good for our people, and we could talk for hours about. But these folks, these surface worlders, they face they face the evil of they are facing Pyle, the essence of darkness. We are sworn to help them. Chada chada bong bong. I cannot let you pass. I cannot let you escape, fool. I represent the will of the people and the well. I cannot let you all escape. I'm taking you all my... All of a sudden, the whole ground starts to shake around everybody. Around the tanks, around the ferry people, around the sand rebels, around the humans. And they notice then they're suddenly starting to thrust upward. And like water's going ahead of them and spraying out a hole. And water must be lifting this platform they're on. Next thing they know, boom. They're back up in the center of town. And they're kind of like in a reverse sinkhole where piles, water power, just push them back up to the surface. I guess like a water earth elevator. Probably the first time it's been invented by an evil wizard, unfortunately. And I guess a pretty rare power to have the power to control an element in this way. So probably not replicable. But yeah, he was able to move the earth. I mean, yeah, because he stabilized it with water, and he used the water for drilling. Anyway, they're back on the earth, back in town, everybody. And they're right on the edge of, right in the middle of town, right by the portal to fairyland. You can tell Pyle's kind of regathering his water into some concentrated form, just like the Terminator in Terminator 2. And Cinderella says, "Quickly, people! We must work together. This is the only way we'll be able to stop the wizard Pyle. He's regathering his strength right now. If we could all work together, we could defeat him." And everyone's like, "We got lightning weapons. We don't need your help." And Rose's like, "We got our lava weapon." "Cinderella, you ruined everything. We could have had a perfectly nice life. You know, I was a middle class. I had a flower shop. Now I have nothing." And the fairy, I've spent every day in my garden in the morning, the afternoon, and I just did my job, and I enjoyed it. And now you, with your pretty little perfect face and your pouty lips and your button nose, you fucked it all up. Duh. And everybody's just still mad at. Why can't you just does anyone have any magic? We just go back in time to the way things were. Oh. And even Cinderella, she's struck by how things have turned against her and how no one. She's like negative. What's swooned in a bad way? Like she's about to faint, and she's just like defeated. And then Pyle's comes strutting in as a water human, about 6'4". Looks just like old Pyle, but slightly translucent. And he just chuckles. "Ha ha ha ha. Ah, Cinderella, Agatha, thank you for bringing me these fine soldiers of weapons of lava and lightning. Now I can rule the underworld. I already controlled you with the Well of Want. Finally got a grasp of how to use that. And you fairy people, I was listening, and you could go back. Would you like to go back to the way things were? I could easily banish these monsters from your land and return you. You could return to doing your work. And you, underworld sand people, you could return to doing what you want. In exchange for having me as your ruler, doing the little chores I assign you, you won't even be aware of it, because it'll be from your well of work. Or part of getting from the well of want will be accomplishing little tasks I send you out on. Conquering this kingdom or that. I can do away with these rebels that don't want to work with me. And these rabble-rousing, stone-faced women and puffy-faced grandmothers. And you, Cinderella of all. People are kind of like in shock because, the idea of working for Pyle, on the surface it sounds good, but, everybody's guts are kind of like, uh-oh, this guy's kind of a jerk. And Cinderella's not sure. She's like, how am I going to bargain with this dude? Pyle says, you're speechless, eh? Cinderella says, well, let's make a bargain. Pyle says, there'll be no bargain. My way or you'll die, all of you. Every single man, woman, child, fairy godmother, fairy godfather, fairy cousin father, sand rebel, sand child, sand worms. You either work for Pyle or you die. It is that simple. So who will choose first? The silence falls over. Cinderella's kind of crying. Because she doesn't know what to do. All of a sudden, Roland says, I'll choose first. Pyle, you could take my life as an example. I want all of you to be safe. I know that choice will be much easier if you watch me. I know the value of your life will be much more meaningful if you see me lose mine. I was, exactly. He said, go ahead, back up towards that portal of monsters. And all the monsters are right up against the portal, snapping and snapping. And, I just have a few things I want to say. One, Cinderella, it's been my honor serving you. And that is enough to make my life fulfilled. I've learned something greater than love, called service to a leader, a real leader that has caring. And Roland starts this long speech. He's quoting Larry of Ladybird and these other childhood heroes, like the Elfkins, which was another story his mom used to tell him about these elves that lived in the woods. And he's just going on and on. And meanwhile, Agatha and Penelope, they're watching Cinderella. They can't believe Cinderella's broken. And Chatty Chatty Bong Bong, their hearts are breaking. The monsters are, like, Roland's backed up. He's speaking. He's right against the thing. And the monsters are banging against the thing, like I said. And Chatty Chatty Bong Bong even sees, like, this evil, mutated, acid-spitting worm monster. Oh, that's so sad. That worm changed into a nasty beast. And I thought, oh my God, like, wait a second. What if he tries to back Roland and we free the lava? We could, the volcano. We turn the volcano on a pile. Your volcano weapons didn't stop him, so he'll turn to a mist and then he'll just regenerate. And then Penelope says, what if I change the monsters into giant dogs, and they lick Pyle up like water? And he's like, no, he'll just blow out their stomachs, or it's like, no, it's like, shit, I think he's got us. And meanwhile, Roland's speech kind of draws to a close. And as much as I would have liked to give you a speech and have it say it was, like, inspiring, but the most inspiring stuff he said was what he said to Cinderella. The rest of it was kind of nonsense. And maybe it was just Roland trying to buy some time. But he's backed up, and Pyle says, and now I want all of you to watch the cost of defying me. And Cinderella kind of says, I won't open the portal, and you need my rock hand to open the portal. And Pyle just laughs and wraps some water around her, shoves her arm right in the portal. Portal opens up. He shoves Roland in towards the monsters. And I hope you're asleep, because Roland, the monsters take Roland, and Roland sacrifices his life. And luckily he was hit by a poison dart by these frog monsters that shoot darts. So he wasn't mutilated. He just got hit in the heart with a poisoned dart, and he falls to his knees. Pyle laughs, and as Roland passes from this world into the next, Pyle shoots something, water at him that instantly freezes Roland into the statue, freezes all his liquids and stuff. Roland says that statue will remain frozen, crystallized forever, so that you will all remember the cost of defying me. And Cinderella raises her hands and she says, "Okay, Pyle, I offer myself and my people to do with as you wish, with just one small caveat, that any suffering or punishment due upon the people is done upon me first as an example. Any punishment we plan to met, even to the verge of death, any torture, any humiliation, just do unto me first, so that these people will remain without harm. Please, do as he wishes." And he said, "You are a leader. Fortunately for you, a good leader. But you lose. I will keep you safe with me, Cinderella, high in a tower for all to watch. Any time any one of you makes a mistake, if it is not death, you will have to watch your princess suffer, and know it will befall you as well." And Agatha is kind of wandered over to the statue of Roland and Penelope, and Agatha's just kind of holding her hand to his cheek, because she was the first one. She's really at a loss. And Penelope's kind of, he was a good man. Kind of doing a side. It's not that big of a deal, Pyle, because they're not up to anything. And then Agatha says to herself, he's crystallized. He's not even cold. She looks from Roland. It's a crystallized crystal. And she looks over at the sand, horses of sand. She sees crystal and sand. "Penelope, I may have the solution. As a child, we lived not far from the desert. And my mother, she would make jewelry from the crystals. One day I asked my mother, where do the crystals come from that you gather and sell, that we gather and you sell, or you make into jewelry?" And she said, Oh, my dear, it's so funny. She goes, "We make our living from sponge poop. So, dear, there's these sponges that live in the desert, and they wait for rainfall. And they suck in the rainfall, and they use everything in the rainfall to fuel their bodies. And the only thing left are these crystals, and that's their poop." She goes, "The sponges poop crystals. No one knows that they're wearing jewels of poop. Sponge poop. Isn't that funny?" But Penelope just stares at her like, "Shit, you gone bonkers, son." And Agatha says, "Don't you get it? Just change all those monsters into sand sponges now. Giant sand sponges." And then Penelope gets it. She busts out her wand. And Penelope, she goes, "Did you hear that, fairies? Sand sponges now. Every monster." And there's about 60. So they start shooting their wands at the monsters, change them to sand sponges. Agatha's like, "Throw the sponges at Pyle." And this Pyle's in the middle of, his James Bond victory speech, where he's not even killing James Bond. He's already beaten. Bond already gave up. And then people start picking up the sponges and throwing them. And grab a sand sponge. And everyone grabs sand sponges. They're throwing them at Pyle. People are running and shoving them on Pyle. Pyle's getting hit by sponges. And sponges just start slurping them up. And these sponges, they're in the desert. So they're, you remember the ShamWow? These sponges are 1,000,000,000 times more absorbent. They have to suck the dew out of air to survive. And, any rainfall at all, they absorb it
any moisture. So they suck Pyle dry, and Pyle's trying to fight. And these sponges, they ain't letting go of the liquid. Then Cinderella's like, hurry, gather the sponges up, gather them up. Throw them in, grab a bucket. And they throw the bucket, and they gather all the sponges up. And Pyle's stuck in these sponges, and she says, place the bucket next to Roland. So they push the bucket over next to Roland. Meanwhile, Cinderella's got her hand in the portal, to keep it open. What Agatha didn't say, Agatha's mom might not have known this, it takes like hundreds of years of slow digestion to break down the elements of water and turn them into crystal for these sponges. And it's incredibly painful for the water. So Pyle's about years and years of torture in this bucket, and even though water technically, and he's just letting out these horrible screeches, and everyone's covering his ears. Horrible. So Cinderella just pulls her arm out from the portal, and the portal shuts, and you can barely, if you stand close enough to the portal, you can hear the horrible sound, but obviously it kind of taints fairyland forever, that he's just going to be slowly digested and turned into crystal inside these sponges forever, or close to, for him it's going to feel like 10 lifetimes. Everyone's gathering around the portal, and they're all in shock. And Cinderella turns to Agatha and she says, Stepmother, you saved us. The rebels go, it's true, you are the one from the prophecy. And everyone gathers in, even the sand soldiers, they seem to be shaken out of some daze. And most people are in a daze. I mean, their world's really been turned upside down, and a lot of people go to their knee, and they bow to Agatha, and they're like, our new queen, Yankee, Agatha, we salute you. The prophecy has proven true. Yankee, Agatha, untouched palace awaits you. I know these are your people to rule as well. And then the fairies go on their knees, and the humans. So you saved us from the wizard Pyle. Everyone's just in shock, almost like she's a demigod come down from the heaven. And they're all on their knees bowing. They're like, Yankee, you could live in the surface world and our world, but we will all bow to you as queen. And Agatha looks, and even Cinderella says, she puts her hand on the stepmother's back and steps behind her. She's like, I think this is right. You always wanted to live in the palace. Now I know why, stepmother. For you're the queen. She goes to take her crown off, which has amazingly and unexpectedly remained on Cinderella's head this whole time. We've almost been unaware of it, because she's been on quite a whirlwind in the past couple weeks. And Agatha stops her, and she says, no, queen am not. And this man, she points over at Roland. That man was not a king, but he made a sacrifice greater than any king could. But while he was a great man, he was not a leader. He was not one with an openness to the heart that it takes to care for each and every one of you. And I do not have that. I am a schemer. I can come up with plans, and I'm swift on my feet, right? I'm smarter than most of you folks. Let's not beat around the bush. And I like that these sand people think I'm a beautiful woman. And like some of you, I won't be forgetting. But this is a queen. Beauty aside, a queen or king. It is not what is on the outside that matters. Well, I guess it's not on the inside, really, either. It's something that goes well beyond that. Something I don't have, but you do, Cinderella. Sandhorse people, you might not know Cinderella. This is my stepdaughter, Cinderella. I was a terrible stepmother to her, tortured her, threw her, made her count lentils one time, covered in ash. Made her life quite unpleasant with my 2 daughters, who I haven't seen in a while, but I know they're among all you humans in here somewhere. But she is the right one. Maybe your prophecy was a bit off. But Cinderella is a worthy leader, and over the past few times I've heard a lot of people say, oh, Cinderella this, oh, Cinderella that, oh, the old life, oh, it's so great, oh, well, it's all garbage, you people. For as long as this woman lives, she will treat you with fairness and goodness. She is our queen. And with that, Penelope gets on her knees, kisses Cinderella's hand. And I would be honored to serve you, queen, if you'll have me. Cinderella's so touched she's speechless. And I'm kind of speechless. I mean, Cinderella should be queen, and Agatha's come a long way since she started out as just a patient stepmother, was I think the first or second episode, just waiting her time to get into the castle, and that's all she seemed to have wanted. But Agatha seemed to have come a long way, and so has Cinderella. And Roland obviously has come a long way. He's not with us anymore, and I'm sorry. Those of you that planned on wedding Roland or loved him. But he's a hero, and will always be. Penelope, she seemed to come a little bit of ways. Not quite as far as everyone else, but I think she's grown. And folks, this is... I wasn't sure tonight would be the last episode of the season for After the Glass Slipper, but this is an end for now. And we'll still have episodes, but it won't, for a little while we're going to take a break from this story. Because it's in a good place to take a break. Because everything's good. And I'm sure things won't be good for long, but let's give these people a chance to recover. Cinderella, Agatha, Sand People, the Fairy People, the Human People. And see, we'll check back with them. I promise. And thanks for sticking out and enjoying this story, if you have, or the parts of it that put you to sleep. I hope at least a tiny part of the story found its way into your heart. Or into your dreams. Okay? And I'm getting a little, I guess I don't know if I'm trying to fill dead air or I actually am human and having a feeling here, but probably just filling dead air because my job's to bore you to sleep, not carry you to sleep. I'm a boredom superhero, not a caring superhero. But I kind of care. That's not true. I care, and I hope if you're not asleep and you're still listening, that helps you in some way. Maybe give you a little, maybe Roland's sacrifice, which is much more than mine, of just taking a little time to help you fall asleep. Maybe that could create something warm inside you that makes you feel safe and comforted, and that you could curl up with that, if with nothing else, and whatever agony or anxiety or whatever's creeping at your door, go ahead and snuggle up with that piece of Roland or that piece of Agatha or Penelope or Cinderella. Or if you feel dark, there might have been some good things about the wizard pile or the rebel. Maybe you're into the bad boy, like Chada Chada Bong Bong. Go for it. Snuggle up with him. Just take that feeling of safety, security, and caring with you tonight, okay? Get a good night's rest, and we'll be back Thursday night. Don't worry. It just won't be with After the Glass Slipper for a little while. Or not, I don't know. I don't want to lie to you. I don't know how long it'll be, but it'll be back. I don't think I could stay away from Agatha for very long. Thanks for listening so much, and I hope you're getting some rest. Oh, fuck daylight savings time, too. And if you're not in the U.S., go ahead and look that up.